Well, hello everybody, and welcome to the 378th edition of the Boxing Asylum Nuthouse podcast. I'm your host, Steve Wellings, and joining me on the call we have Ozzy Smith and Andy Patterson. Just to remind you all, we go live on YouTube 8 o'clock every Sunday evening. The Patreon RSS feed updates shortly after the show concludes, usually around 10, half 10. Hello to everybody listening during the week. iTunes, Spotify, Soundcloud. I think we're on Stitcher as well, apparently. Don't quote me on that. Tumblr as well. How are you getting on this week, Ozzy? How's the lockdown? How is everything treating you?
Yeah, good, mate. Good. Again, getting more back to normal each week as we go. Still working, so it's pretty much of a muchness. Absolutely twatted it down all week this week, so been pretty much housebound.
Yeah, it's been a bit of a strange day here. It was lovely and warm in periods, and it was absolutely lashing it down in other periods. So we managed to get out for a little bit, got soaked, got back in the house, but pretty much the same as you, getting back to work slowly but surely. Things are getting slightly more normal. People aren't getting any more normal, but hopefully everything is as it should be soon. Andy, how are you getting on?
I'm not bad, mate. Kind of like, binging on the football and stuff like that, over like numerous channels, YouTubes and stuff, and kind of like, I've actually kind of like gave boxing a bit of a backseat this week, actually. Did a bit of research for the next Punches for the Past episode, exclusively on Patreon, so anybody who's wanting to kind of dispense with some cash, get there and subscribe to the Patreon. Some good features coming up shortly as well, Steve, isn't there?
Absolutely, Andy, there is. There's a few things scheduled. We've been doing Punches from the Past and all that over on patreon.com/Boxing Asylum. I'll give a shout out to the top boys, the top squad later on, who support us through thick and thin. Give a shout out to the lads here knocking about in the chat as well. Welcome to you, Paver, Boxing Channel. Know all about him. Tosh Bear is knocking about as well. Tosh, I do have Messenger. Yes, I'll go and have a look for that. There's Eggy Phil, Banana Rama from across the pond, Chris Bray, Lee the Alcoholic Frotch, Nuthouse Power indeed. Pairing ourselves up here on Lighter Fuel and Red Bull. Hamed's there. Take Aims, good to have you in as well. Yep. How many we got in there? Just under 3,000 for slacking tonight, Andy. Only the 3,000. Where are they all?
Yeah, I mean, it's like everything else. I mean, they're all struggling. I noticed the IFL, they've got like the best hits of Eddie Hearn. It's only done 2,500 views, apparently. Back before the shutdown, it was like, I don't know, 100,000, just like your listenership. So they must be struggling a wee bit, But unlike IFL, at least we put out original content rather than the kind of rehash old content,
Yes, well said. Yeah, Tosh, I'll have a look on the Facebook Asylum shortly if I get a chance. Barney Douglas is over on Facebook. Welcome to the millions of listeners, no doubt, over on facebook.com/Boxing Asylum, the Boxing Asylum, something like that. You'll find us if you need to. Ozzy, we're talking off air there about the shows coming back. Obviously, there's an exciting Zapata against Baranchik show coming up shortly. Last week, obviously, we had a few issues at the beginning, at the top of the show, so I didn't get to talk about Jesse Magdaleno. Not going to go into that in any great detail. It wasn't great. Shakur Stevenson, I think the fact that this card was so poor was because it was all about the spectacle. They were first. It was all set up for the optics. They didn't want grueling, bloody battles when they were coming back. They had a nice, easy 10-rounder. Stevenson was going to beat your man up, get rid of him. The others were all shitty, one-sided 6-rounders. As I say, they didn't want like a couple of Mexicans battering shit out of each other, blood flying everywhere. God help us, someone tests positive for coronavirus, and the next thing you know, the boxing's back. It shouldn't be back. I think it was an optics thing. Maybe that's why they went so weak, the first couple of cards.
To be honest, Steve, I think every top-rank show at the moment has been weak, largely unimpressive. I understand, they want to come back and, be first back because it gives them a bit of a pull type of thing. However, we've been pining for boxing and live fights and things like that, but it says it all that Marius Wack against Kevin Johnson was probably more competitive than pretty much every fight we've seen on the top-ranked show at the moment. It certainly improves. As we said, we were talking about Zapata against Baranchik. Looking forward to that. And that would have been something that if they'd have started with that would have really got people involved. But as you say, it was probably more of a spectacle, just easing into it. Certainly think that shows will improve. It's obviously a new territory for promoters. More fighters will obviously be back in gyms now, training. Fingers crossed things can only get better. We were obviously, I think a few days ago, it was revealed the first of the UK shows are going to return, which is on Friday the 10th. Brad Foster against James Beach Jr., British title fight. I think it's Bantam or Super Bantam, I forget. So slowly but surely things are getting back to normal. and particularly from Top Rank later early June, things are improving. The Maloney brothers fight next week, which I know Andy's got a keen eye on, so I'll bring him in on that.
Go ahead, Andy. We've got Andrew Maloney. Let me just bring it up here. Andrew Maloney is going in against
Jose Franco.
Joshua Jose Franco. Yeah, Christopher Diaz is on the card as well. I was watching Box Nation recently, actually, and I caught from round 3 onwards of Christopher Diaz's fight with Masayuki Ito. Do you remember they tried to get him a handy one for the WBC WBO Super Featherweight title? And Ito pretty much beat the shit out of him for most of the fight.
12-round mugging, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Ito's a tough dude. Yeah, Andrew Maloney, super flyweight WBA champ. This is a defence of the Seth Bobble. Good fighter, Andrew Maloney, and his brother Jason. Folk will probably know Jason more after he tested Manny Rodriguez in the World Boxing Super Series. Bit of a slow start, Jason, in that fight, and he came on in the end though. So maybe just a bit of experience. If it was a 15-round fight, he'd have won it definitely, I think. So Jason fights on, is it the Thursday? I think he fights, and Andrew fights on the Tuesday.
Yes.
Yeah, I think that's right. So yeah, but it's at this point I'm not really expecting great things, but these guys have been really lucky actually because they got the call to make the move to Vegas. Just literally was basically, I think it was a week of the lockdown happening actually. So they've been quarantined together in some sort of house in Vegas, training there, wee multi-purpose gym and stuff. And they've got their fights coming up. Maloney's a bantamweight. Jason's a bantamweight. Andrew's a super flyweight. And Jason fights Leonardo Baez. Some folk might remember him fighting Moses Flores and stuff. So basically, tune-up fights, kind of keep busy fights. But one of these guys is a Mexican, so you would expect, a bit of resistance, especially for Jason's opponent. To be honest, I don't know much about the one that Andrew's fighting and stuff, but I do know he's been 24, 36 rounds with Oscar Negrete. Very, very close fights and stuff. So yeah, basically one to look for. I think Maloney, Jason, that is basically trying to get a kind of fight with obviously either Ubali or Inoue. Whereas Maloney, I know they're called Maloney. Andrew, another half, he got upgraded from interim champ to full regular champ because he was mandatory to fight Cal Yafai. Yafai obviously hung about trying to get a big fight. Got the big fight, got beat. So obviously the WBA then had to kind of create another title, and that's what they've done. So that's how Andrew is the world champion, and Gonzalez is the super champion.
Interesting, Andy, on that Jason Maloney undercard. Abraham Nova, 18-0. Few people see him as a bit of a prospect. He's going in against the lesser spotted Avery Sparrow. You might remember him. He was supposed to fight Ryan Garcia, wasn't he? And they put a warrant out for his arrest on the week of the fight.
Did they? I can't remember that one.
Pretty sure that was him, yeah.
Abraham Nova, I'm trying to remember. I know the name. It's one of the names that kind of rings a bell. But I've just, I can't mind. Is he a foreigner? 14
knockouts, Puerto Rican, based in New York. He can clearly bang a little bit. Just looking down the record, he had a fight in Belgium 2 fights ago, as you do. He's had a few fights in Belgium actually. No real names of any note on the record that I can see as yet.
Yeah, I think he's probably popped up an undercard somewhere. I mean, it's one of those names that kind of rings a bell straight away. Certainly, I've seen him somewhere, but nothing that kind of really sticks out.
No. One thing I was going to mention to you, actually, Ozzy. It's not the biggest concern in the world, but whenever Andre Ward was on calling the Shakur Stevenson fight, obviously he has some kind of involvement in Ward in an advisory capacity or management capacity. It's a bit reminiscent of when Macklin comes on, calls the MTK fights and all that type of stuff. Do you think we should maybe create some kind of separation between these things?
Yeah, possibly. It depends how biased or how true they are. If it's just a case of it's blatant bias, then of course you don't want to hear that. But then you can make an argument for any home commentators at the moment, whether it be Sky or BT. Some of the commentary we see is just downright outrageous because it's not calling the fight, it's just calling it in favour of the fighter. So the away fighter could land a great shot and they praise the chin of the home fighter rather than acknowledging that it was actually the good work was done by the opponent. It'll never happen. I'd be amazed that if somebody ever came out and basically said, Andre, you're not going to commentate on any of Shakur Stevenson's fights. And likewise with Macklin as well. I think it's here to stay. And it's one of the. I've got to admit, it doesn't really faze me. I'm not that bothered. I do like Ward, but sometimes blatant bias does become a bit frustrating. But all in all, I'm not going to lose any sleep over it.
Fair enough, Ozzy. Fair enough. Let's give a shout out to some of the Patreon boys. First group, just before we move on to talk about Navarrete very briefly, because I don't think it was the best in the world. Richard Lodder, Slip Digby, Swaggy Taggy, Steve Turton, Ian Pirry, Sean Nomas Vidal, Gordon, Jamie D, Red West, Holly Lewis, Holt, Mike Wrigley, Jamie, Davey Man 100, Daniel, Gary Lockwood, Saul Brocklehurst, Daniel Wilson, Matthew Reynolds, and Matt. Andy, what about last night then, Emmanuel Navarrete? I know they're easing these guys back in. Obviously, Shakur fought above his natural weight. But going in against this Uriel Lopez, 27 fights, 13 wins, 13 losses, and 1 draw. I think there is it's fair to say that they've got a lot of fights they have to put on Top Rank on the ESPN network. Is it 54, 55? And they're just trying now desperately to have a few of these shitty cards, maybe 7 or 8 or whatever, just to make the numbers up, and then hopefully things will improve once they're back on an even keel, back on schedule again.
Yeah, possibly. But at the end of the day, well, they're going to be limited again. It's just like we see with Frank Warren putting on these British title cards and stuff. They're going to be really limited as to what type of fights they can use and who can, freedom of movement and stuff with the lockdown and restrictions of travel and all that sort of stuff at the minute. I mean, what was the result with Navarrete last night? Boxrec hasn't even got it listed.
He knocked him out, didn't he, as far as I know?
Did he? And he's moved up to featherweight full time, hasn't he?
Oh, I don't know. Has he?
Because he was WBO super bantamweight champion. There was talk about him moving up weight, but as I say, if he's moving up the featherweight, he's just dragged the super bantamweight up with him to fucking knock him out. And what? How many rounds?
Andy, he's right there with Gilberto Ramirez, with Ray Vargas, this sort of Mexican vortex.
he's done nothing for me since the Dogbow fights. And I felt sorry for Dogbow in that second fight because he really did put a bit of a beating on him. But after that, it's like. Who's that? That flyweight champion, the Filipino. Oh Christ, he reminds me of his career.
Oh, he moved for Conlon. German and Callas.
And Cajas, that's it.
Yeah.
A bit like that career used to be Gilberto Ramirez, Benavides. Yeah, that's the type of career. And that it's just what he done for me lately. This guy has something like he had so many defeats as he had wins or something like that as well.
Yeah, that's right.
Just look. I can understand it, but if you're going to give him this type of fights, but as long as he's out again in, 3 weeks' time, rather than just sitting again for another 2, 3 months, 4 months, whatever it is, just to have another fight, at least, if he's going to have these type of fights, at least step up in class each time and be active. But as you say, I don't know how many fighters Bob Arms got on record and stuff, but I have a few. So all these dates for the ESPN he needs to fill up as well. Obviously, you have the MTK shows and that as well, as we briefly touched upon as well, to kind of cover on ESPN Plus and that. But indeed, some of these fights, I haven't even watched any of these ESPN. I seen the Stevenson knockout on Twitter. None of these fights are doing it for me. As I say, we're flicking through the Boxrec schedule just before we came on there, and the Zepeda Baranchi fight. We're all like, oh Christ, yeah, that fight's really got our interest. And that's, I dare say, me as hardcores are going to sit and watch me. I ain't going to sit and watch Emmanuel Navarrete pull up a fucking super bantamweight up fucking, was it 4 or 5 pounds to smash him up? I'm not going to fucking download that shit. Yeah, it's just been put in. I get, as I say, that they're limited as to who they can use. Regional, as I say, fighters will probably need to be used. They're fighting in studios at the minute. They're wiping down ring ropes and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, I mean, I'm not expecting great things, but you really. Is this better than nothing? I don't know. I mean, there's people going on about the football at the minute that says, "Oh, it's better than nothing." But then I think it's going to get boring after a bit.
Not some of the stuff I've seen. I don't know if it is.
I had that Newcastle game on for 20 minutes a day, and that fucking £40 million striker could have kicked my arse. Yeah, so I just think, look. We're talking about the fighters will be ready to go for the long layoff. There's they need to make these big fights happen sometime soon and stuff. There's nothing encouraging here actually that any of these so-called big fights are going to be happening. I mean, Inouye's still talking about returning in August, September, I think it is. Who's he going to be fighting? I would imagine it's going to be nobody great. Ubali's going to need a fight. He's going to be struggling as well to try and get a top opponent until these restrictions get lifted. So I think we'll probably need to wait till at least August before we can actually even think about getting big fights, because that's what I'm talking about, especially here anyway, but possibly getting crowds back into football stadiums and stuff. So if we're talking August, then I think we could maybe look in September, October before we kind of like look at the kind of big fights happening, because we need the crowd in there to help with, bringing in the purse money and all that sort of stuff. And I think anyway, but I think as well going forward, if you're going to be struggling with cards, now I think put on 3 fight cards, but make it big or decent enough fights. I'm looking at this Navarrete card for last night. No, nothing there them. But why not just put on like top, like 3 12 rounders for like title fights? That's so you got Navarrete for Mexico. Who else for Mexico could you put on there? Maybe Luis Neri, even another Mexican fighter off the top of my head.
Neri is coming back soon, isn't he? I think he's going to be one of the first PBC ones. Maybe they were saying. Yeah,
so again, I'm not thinking about the fucking promotional side of it and stuff. But Benavidez. You got Ramirez as well. Could put these 2 guys, they're Mexican fighters. You can maybe put them on in Mexico. I don't know if they're based in America. That might be an issue as well. It's just I'm not going to be putting myself out to sit and watch this shit end of the day. And I say it's just how I see it. I did see actually this show last night, Steve, was actually unsanctioned as well. There was no commission actually okayed this.
Oh, is that right? I thought that was made because there's some kind of paperwork hadn't come in yet, but I don't know.
Right.
Should have been unsanctioned.
Yeah, true. I just think with top ranked fighters and their track record and stuff, it's like they're putting out prospects, and this guy's not a prospect. He's a world champion, and he's going to be a guy who's like 13-1 record. There's nothing, and I ain't watching it. I mean, Christ's sake, it would be okay, as I say, if he's fighting this guy, like this week, to have a fight next week, for example, like did in the old days, to have a tune-up fight. I'll fight this guy this week just to kind of get a bit of rust off, keep the weight off me a wee bit, and then I'll step up and fight the big guy next week and that. But that's not going to happen. So I wouldn't expect any great things happening anytime soon. As I said, Navarrete, after his last few performances, I ain't going to be kind of put myself out to watch him.
No, I agree with that. I see Porky's in the chat there, the voice of hardcore boxing. I'm becoming the voice of casual boxing. I'll be honest, I don't really want to shit on it. They're putting on what they want. People enjoy it or not. I've watched a bit of it, seen highlights. I've seen a few full fights. I watched the likes of Ramirez, Robezi Ramirez, who won by knockout. I saw the Stevenson fight, saw most of the Magdaleno fight. I have been watching bits and pieces, but I'm not going out of my way to watch a lot of it. Like one of the guys mentioned the Polish card last night. I didn't even know there was a Polish card on last night. So I'm easing myself back in. Same with the football. I enjoyed Wolves yesterday. Obviously, I'm a Wolves fan, but a lot of the football has been absolutely dog shit, man. I haven't been enjoying it at all. But I say, don't let me sway everybody. You can watch whatever the hell you want. And fair play to the boys in the chat. They are indeed watching all the action. Episode 378 here. We have a guest coming on at around 8:30. One of the fellas in the chat is coming on after that to chat to us as well. Ozzy's here. So is Andy. Ryan Deal, friend of the pod, Patreon subscriber, threw in a question. After I called him Ryan the Real Deal, he said, who is the best real deal of all time? Is it Evander Holyfield? Is it me, says Ryan? Is it Sefer Safari of Tyson Fury fame? Didn't realise he was a real deal. Or Ryan Ford, who was bashed about by Joshua Buatsi. If there's any more, you'll have to dig them out, says Ryan. Well, I found Daniel the Real Deal Gill, former middleweight champion of recent years. Enough of that nonsense, Ozzy. Another question from Ryan Deal, which is right up your street. He says, could Deontay Wilder benefit from stepping aside to let Tyson Fury fight AJ? I think it's perfect for him. He can banjo Dillian White and do us all a favour over here for a big pay packet and potentially set up a big pay-per-view clash with Povetkin while working on technique to come back for a trilogy. Or he can take him, pick off the B-level PBC heavyweights, God knows how many of them there are. The only risk is that he gets frozen out with the upcoming guys as no one on the way up will fight him. It's too risky. Any general comments on the heavyweight situation, Oz?
It's okay if he steps aside, but the issue is that you need Joshua Fury to happen immediately, and then you're obviously waiting on the rematch as well. Now, in reality, if it was 1-1 after 2 fights, you're going to see a third fight. So stepping aside, he's forfeiting his biggest payday anyway by stepping aside. Yes, he'll be handsomely rewarding for doing nothing. I completely agree with the statement of, but basically, if he was to fight Dillian White, he can just get rid of him, shut Dillian White up for good, and we don't have to listen to his, his moping attitude as he gets the violin out with his sob stories. I agree. I think he'd be tough to match because I don't think people would be interested in him, particularly with no belt now. No interest in him seeing against Povetkin. I think we saw that Povetkin isn't the fighter he was against Michael Hunter. He's certainly on the way down now. Maybe someone like Hunter would take the fight with Wilder and take it as an opportunity. But I don't see him stepping aside unless he gets a serious injury or something like that. I think his best chance. He's not lucky. He is what he is. You're not going to teach Deontay Wilder realistically anything new now. He's lived on that right hand, and what a right hand it is. I just don't see him beating Tyson Fury, but it's his biggest fight that he can get. It'd be the biggest payday he can get. And look, he gets beat, fine. But there's still a place for him in the division because his name will carry weight. And 2 losses to Tyson Fury certainly doesn't mean you're a shot fighter or you're an overrated fighter. Fury's just the best in the division.
Good old Fury, best at heavyweight. Andy, let us move on to something I've been meaning to do for a few weeks. I'm always meaning to do something, aren't I? I'll get there eventually. Let me see if I can bring the banner up. Danny Young, friend of the pod, threw this one in, Andy. I know you've been stuck into it. I have a little list of my own as well. The chat can debate what they think. So styles make fights, says Danny. So you get to pick 5 fights for a card from any weight division, but you have to pick a pre-1990 fighter in their prime against a post-1990 fighter in their prime. I know you've got 5 or 6, Andy. Do you want to go first, or do you want me to go first?
I'll go first, mate. So I'll give you 6 fights. So I've got one for heavyweight, light heavyweight, middleweight, welterweight, lightweight, and featherweight. So the post 1990, Mike Tyson against pre-1990 Muhammad Ali. Light heavyweight, Matthew Sad Muhammad against Artur Beterbiev. Middleweight, Carlos Monzon against Kelly Pavlik. Welterweight, Jose Napoles against Floyd Mayweather. Lightweight, Roberto Duran against Juan Manuel Marquez. And featherweight, Salvador Sanchez against Eric Morales.
Ooh, liking them, Andy. I'm liking Saad against Beterbiev. That would be who cracks first kind of affair. And Napoles against Floyd, was it you said?
Yeah, Napoles against Floyd. Yeah, Matthew Sad Muhammad against Beterbiev. Bloodbath. You could just see the guys just stand in front of each other, just kind of swinging away. Sad probably getting dropped about 25 times. Keeps getting up like fucking like Undertaker. Monzon against Pavlik. I would really love that to see that fight. Both kind of stand up guys. Both got power. Good boxing ability. High IQ. Napoles against Floyd. Again, as I said, Napoles can do it all. So could Floyd. At welterweight as well, actually, where would you say Floyd was in his prime at welterweight?
Well, I mean, if he wasn't, he was surely in and around his prime, wasn't he?
He wouldn't be far off.
He had a long prime.
Yeah, I know, but I'm thinking I'm thinking more like the guy who fought like lightweight, super featherweight, and that guy who was rapid, wanting to take chances. And obviously, the hand problems and probably when it got up in weight made him kind of change his style a wee bit and stuff. As I says, I think he would have found a way to win the fight. Duran against Marquez, as I says, and Sanchez against Morales, which all Mexican battle. I would hope that fight was over 15 rounds. In fact, make that one a fight to the finish, actually, just whoever folds first,
Yeah, just before I bring my list up, shout out to Jason Chuck who has joined the chat. He's been burned on OnlyFans by someone called Wonder Dolly. So I'm not
What?
I don't think it was Tyler Goodjohn anyway, but Wonder Dolly has burnt the old Chuckwew Meister on OnlyFans, and he's seething in the chat here about his cash. Should have sent his cash to Broner, Andy. It would have been better spent.
Yeah, the Cash App. Remember, he fights for you. Does it for the hood. Southside.
Oh dear. Yeah, the boys are debating the Floyds. I've got Floyd in my list as well. My list is heavyweight Ernie Shavers against Deontay Wilder. That would be a bit of a slugfest. Light heavyweight Andre Ward against Bob Foster. Middleweight Carlos Monzon against Canelo. Welterweight, this is one for Smido. Pernell Whitaker against Floyd Mayweather Jr. Punch stat numbers might not have too much to do. I mean, punches landed in that one. And bantamweight Andy Carlos Zarate against Nonito Donaire. That was the best I could come up with.
Wow. That's a decent card. It's a really good card, actually. I like that bantamweight fight.
Yeah, I like that one too. Right, Ozzy. I know you mentioned Brad Foster earlier, Oz. Did you mention any of the other Frank cards that he's come up with? I misread the email, you see, thinking it was all on the same card. That's why I was in the chat saying, oh, yeah, you got Kakashi against Woodhouse. You've got Sadiq against somebody. And I was like, this is brilliant. But they're on different cards. But they're still great fights.
Yeah, so the dates are to be confirmed for the second and third fight. I think ultimately they'll probably see how the first one goes, learn off any teething problems, and then schedule in the second and third fights. Starting off with Brad Foster against James Beach Jr. It's a good opportunity for someone like Brad Foster, really take advantage of, difficult circumstances, but use it, to get some good publicity and impress. He had a great win against Lucian Reed last time. Obviously, Reed was highly touted of sorts, in terms of like his amateur pedigree and his qualities. Hamza Shiraz is also on there as well. I think he's defending like his WBO bauble belt against Paul Keane from Scotland. Undercards are to be announced for the Kakachi, Woodstock, and Richard Sadiq shows, but I'm quite pleased with these. The good British title fights. I've said previously that I'd happily see English title fights on there, or area level ones, because I always think they produce the goods. And look, it's a start as well. I certainly think shows will get better, and as I said before, it's a new breeding ground. But look, it's not a bad start. The 3 competitive fights. I don't know much about Keane for Shiraz. Let's see what else we get. I'm hoping the undercards are going to be of, I think there'll be 4 or 5 fights max. You would like to see, if it's going to be a 5-fight show, at least 3 competitive ones. And then naturally your couple of prospects like David Alderley, the heavyweight, is on there. He'll have a knockover job, but what do you expect in your second pro fight? It's not going to be, someone you shouldn't go life and death with or be a real problem. But no, a decent start. And like we say, it's the ones that Eddie Hearn's been talking about as well. The majority of them have been pretty decent as well. The competitive, I don't know when his announcement's going to be coming. Hopefully it's not too far, not too far away. But as I say, a good start and can only get better in the future.
Thanks very much, Ozzy. Delighted to welcome our first guest of the evening on the call. It's top promoter Al Siesta. How are you, Al?
I'm very well, thank you, my man. Thank you. You?
Yeah, I'm not too bad. How are you coping with the lockdown?
I'm coping okay, man. I'm actually walking around Southampton at the moment making phone calls because my missus and children couldn't cope with me anymore. They said, man, take your phone, go for a walk. Because it's Father's Day today, that phone continuously keep ringing. It's all about Cold Wars, matching, logistics, and so on and so forth. So I'm coping good, man. I'm coping good.
Excellent. You've led perfectly on to my first question, because you're a very creative person. Have you found it tougher or easier in the current climate to be creative?
I found it easier. The reason being because I'm 100 miles an hour and you never got time to stop and think. It's obviously doing something for somebody, you're matching, you're just flying from place to place, basically living within the moment. But with this lockdown, I had really time to reflect on where I've been going, my direction, where I've been going wrong. Maybe I need to slow down, or maybe I need to rethink about things and actually focus more on siesta boxing and what is it I want to personally do other than someone else. And because I got to be comfortable, I must admit, I was very comfortable with Matchroom, bringing 6, 7, sometimes 8 opponents, at least 3 I would have on the undercard, traveling everywhere with the guys. I love the team, they're like my family. And but years are going, they're passing by, So there's development for Matchroom, but no development for myself, if you know what I mean. So it's been a revelation and blessing, this lockdown.
Absolutely. I mean, we're talking about running a show, 4 shows in total, from July the 9th in Minsk, Belarus. What's the latest at the moment on that plan? What's going on?
I have a call from the British Boxing Board of Control. They were adamant I can't proceed with the 9th as the date because at the moment, as it stands, the borders are still closed between UK and Belarus and Russia and Belarus. And I was hoping, and I know it probably will be open by then, but British Board said to me, while self-isolation is still in place and lockdown still at this particular stage and it hasn't been eased off or lifted, we're not recommending you to proceed with anything. So I postponed the 9th of July to 16th. So the current date is 16th of July. I can tell you this, the second show is on the 23rd of July, and then obviously anywhere. It could go slightly back. It depends when this pandemic legislations on the entry to the countries will be lifted or changed. I am ready. We've got all set up, the ring, the lighting, hotel, all the stuff is ready. My end. We're just waiting on legislations for the traveling.
So safety-wise, you've got everything worked out inside the venue, yeah?
100%. Let me tell you, Belarus never had no lockdown. That's why they ran the football league. They straight away implemented social distancing, masks and gloves. So there's a ventilation in the venue. It won't be open to the public. Although I do believe social distancing being reduced this Thursday, coming to 1 meter. Even in the UK, in the country that suffered the most. So in terms of health and safety, all the coronavirus tests, duty tests, and special facility for those who are going to be positive, God forbid, for the quarantine is all established. We've got all in place, you know. But I'm hoping come 16th of July, we wouldn't need any of that.
Top Rank have been running cards. Poland have been running cards. Have you been keeping half an eye on how they've got on, what they've been doing?
I have. And there's no cases, I do believe, of coronavirus. I spoke to Team Mark and the guys who organised that pay-per-view in Poland. They said it went very straightforward. The only problem they had is with piracy. They said they just had over 2,000 buys for the pay-per-view, and they had 36,000 illegal streams, which is bad, really bad, and it's really affected them. And the reason for that, they didn't have protection in place for the stream because they decided to do it themselves. In comparison to them, Fiesta Boxing has a brand new OTT platform built with a high encrypted security for the pirates, if you know what I mean, because it's a very cheap price, $5.99, and if people would try to pitch that, there's no respect for them. I mean, I don't believe real boxing fans will attempt to do that because every penny counts, and if they don't want to keep us out of pocket completely, want us to continue to do the broadcast, they should have love and respect and basically help us to support that financially by paying that $5.99 and enjoying the nights, you know?
Yeah, so that you are running it on like a sort of online streaming pay-per-view system, yeah?
Yeah, OTT is like a miniature version of DAZN.
Right, okay.
Exactly the same. Very developed, very nice. It's a one-pager. You will be coming up to the URL, entering your details, and there you go. You will obtain the access to your broadcast, and you can enjoy that. You can either buy one broadcast for $5.99 because there are some extras on the cards. There will be just introduced the main 3 fights, 2 10-rounders and 1 8-pounder, highly competitive 50-50. But also there will be guests, there will be title fights, there will be an undercard, so it will be some content. So this is the beginning of big Fiesta Boxing with a broadcasting partner, and I'm really, really looking forward to it. I'm extremely excited, you know?
Absolutely, you should be. So what fights are actually on the schedule at the moment then?
Let me tell you this, very interesting. I'm really glad I'm on this podcast. One of the UK biggest promoters is actually not behaving very well, and I'll tell you what that is. Since I've announced the cards, since I've announced some of the fights, all the fighters who are fighting on my card has been targeted, approached, and made an offer, literally one by one.
Right.
So, yeah, and the promoter is quite famous. It's one of the 3 big promoters. So, I know if you're hearing me, you know God is on my side. The more you do things like that, the more it's going to backfire on you. Because if you, at your age, you don't know that life works as a boomerang, then no one can help you. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's why I'm keeping the cards at the moment under wraps. And I will announce them in due course because the fights are too good to lose them, you know?
Yeah. No, I don't blame you. So people, if they go onto your Twitter at @al_siesta and follow that, yeah?
Yes, so they can go on Siesta. I mean, well, the information will be coming up from Siesta Boxing Twitter, Siesta Boxing Instagram, Siesta Boxing Facebook. So our Siesta Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, also from publications. Obviously, I let you know, guys, so you can announce the cards. All the media outlets who's working closely with Siesta Boxing will be notified of all the changes, all the updates, and I obviously will be running the promotional campaign, and I've got some good PR schedule. So everyone will know everything. I will not keep it a secret, I promise.
Excellent. Just a few more questions for you. When are you flying out to Belarus then, Al?
I was wanting to fly to Belarus on the 2nd of July, but now it's slightly postponed. I actually have to go to Moscow as well to see my partners. So I think early July I will be flying out of the UK. And I'll go to Russia, and then from Russia go to Belarus, and I'll spend the whole entire month hosting people, making sure everything okay, and take care of all the technical logisticals. So I'll be there in town. I love Minsk. Minsk is a beautiful city. It's a lovely food. People are very warm. It's just like very clever people. They call them Silicon Valley of Europe. There's lots of IT companies in there, and women are very attractive. So it's a bit of a paradise, really. I mean, like a rundown paradise. I could have something in between England and Cuba with a similar to UK climate.
Sounds great. I might come out myself, actually. Stow away.
It's stunning. Honestly, Minsk is brilliant, man. Honestly, it's zero crime. I know they say they've got dictatorship and stuff, but you know what? It's zero crime. You cannot lock your car. No one's going to take anything out of there. Trust me.
Lovely stuff. What about Luther Clay? How's he getting on?
Luther Clay is firing. I have some pictures from the gym, some little footage. He looks good. He's on weight, pretty much where he should be now, with like a few weeks to go before the fight. Working, man. Like, really, really up for a fight, you know. I think Chris Congo will find very, very, very serious circumstances there with Luther. And I hope Chris comes ready as well. I mean, this is a 50-50. I don't want to comment on anything. All I know, the fight is on. I personally already know the date, but I leave it with Eddie Hearn to announce. So it's brilliant. It's happening.
Excellent. And a man you know very well, Alexander Usyk, obviously making noise at heavyweight as best he can. How do you think he'll get on at heavyweight?
Beat everyone apart from Tyson Fury. The only person I'm not sure is Tyson Fury. Everyone else, Alex will just tangle up and we'll sort them out. That's all. Too intelligent, too technical. Heart is too big. And that guy's a next level. He's next level individual, next level human being. The only Tyson Fury with his fair size and intellect probably could cause some potential problem for Usyk. Although I still think that Usyk could find the way to Fury's chest, I call it. He can come inside and probably do something, but that's yet to be found out. But otherwise, I'm pretty confident. All the rest of the people, Dylan White, Ortiz, Anthony Joshua, Michael Hunter, you name it, all the top 10 heavyweights, Hergovich, I think Usyk will be too cute for them.
Just finally, Al, before we let you go, and we do thank you for coming on. You're a man of many. You're a man of many talents. Little Birdie tells me you used to DJ at the Ministry of Sound.
I used to play in Ministry of Sound sometimes. Used to play in the Southampton clubs. Used to travel a little bit. Played Ibiza a couple of times. Yes, I mean, before DJ Sun, playing bands, all sorts of stuff. But that wasn't a past life. That was a different time. That was a different siesta altogether.
Al, thanks very much for joining us, and best of luck with the Belarus. I hope it all goes okay for you, because I know sometimes things don't go too easy for you in this boxing game. So hopefully it works out.
Yeah, man, it will. You know what? One thing I know: if God is with me, it doesn't matter who's against me. You know.
Well said. Cheers, sir.
Thank you, brother. God bless you. Thank you.
All the best, Al. Bye.
Bye.
Al Siesta there, quite the character. Yeah, things haven't been plain sailing Aussie for old Al Siesta. Whenever he's come on, there's always somebody trying to scud him. It wouldn't be like boxing to do that, surely.
Yeah, no, I remember the last time he was on. He was having that show, I think it was in Ireland or something like that, and the security firm that he booked forgot to turn up or had a double booking, so he had to cancel the show on the night when there was no security there. So, no, I saw some of the fights that were announced. Pulling him up. I know one was involving one of Richie Garner's fighters, Craig Woodruff. Again.
Well, here, Ozzy, I have the list here, if you don't mind. I had written down Ali Ismailov against Dex Spellman, Byfield against Ismail Iliev, Zach Chelly against Sergei Gorkoro, Issa Chaniev against Craig Woodruff, and Sorokin versus Grant Dennis.
Oh, right, okay.
Some names in there that I recognise, like.
Yeah, Sorokin was the one John Ryder beat.
Yep.
In the final eliminator.
I hope
they go ahead. I hope they go ahead. As you say, you've got the issue at the moment of, being able to fly into the respective countries. So I think until those measures are lifted, and providing there's no, quarantine situation when you've got to land over there, then we'll be seeing them again. I point back, it's slowly getting back to normal, and it's good to see these innovative fights that are happening. That we're seeing them now, and they're fairly competitive, to be fair, because they're no mugs. Some of those British lads going over there, and look, they're taking an opportunity, they're taking a chance. Because they know, chances are going to be limited. So they're thinking, actually, yeah, let's do it. Let's go on 6 weeks' notice. You can get back sparring now. And you go and get a win over there. There's some reputable Eastern European names there. You go and get a win. That can do a lot for your career. So I applaud both sets of fighters taking it, and fair play to Alan. And fingers crossed it does work out and he can get the fights on.
Absolutely, Andy will be tuning in. One of the most remarkable things he mentioned there was that 36,000 people illegally streamed Marius Swack against Kevin Johnson. That was a revelation and a half.
It was actually 36,000 people. I'm assuming that they all came for roughly around about the same area. Christ's sake. Yeah, I mean, I suppose it was one of the first fights, wasn't it? That was put on. 36,000, man. It's a bit desperate, eh?
That's good. I'm impressed.
Illegally streamed.
Illegally streaming.
So they got 2,000 boys and 36,000 illegal streams.
Was that a fiver, he said?
Right. Oh, I missed that. I thought when he said 30,000, I thought, fucking hell, that's really good, that.
Oh, illegal.
Illegally streamed. How many buys? 2,000.
2,000. I'm sure he said it was a couple of quid or a fiver or something like he said.
Ozzy worked it out. It was like £3, I think.
Yeah, £3 it was. So it made about $6,000 at the at pay-per-view. 30,000 people watched it for nothing. Poor sod.
Kevin Johnson has paid $1,000 a round.
Kevin Johnson, my God. Imagine him still being a thing in the year 2000. Joining us on the call, it's the main man himself, rapping Rob Kelly. How are you, Rob? How's it going, Rob? You hear me? Out there in the wilds, hiding under a tree.
That was some dragon there.
No word from Rob just yet. Yeah, good luck to El Siesta. I like him. He's funny. He's trying his best, isn't he? Well, there was something I was going to ask one of you boys. I can't remember whether I did just before he came. I think we're talking about Kakashi, actually, weren't we? Let me just see if I can bring up this next question. I was hoping on Rob appearing. It was Vitaly Klitschko related, Andy, so I suppose you want to tackle this one. From our friend Des over on Twitter. He says, Andy, Vitaly Klitschko has been nominated for the next International Boxing Hall of Fame inductions. I know he was a very good fighter. He held the heavyweight title for a long time and had a brilliant KO percentage. On the flip side, he never did it outside of Europe, never beat anyone close to being a great fighter, and his reign was possibly the dullest of any heavyweight champion in 100 years. There was also the drug scandal in Atlanta, quitting against Chris Bird and taking 2 years off after Lennox Lewis. I always thought the Hall of Fame held themselves to a higher standard. Am I being harsh, Andy? I'd like to know your thoughts, says Des. I've heard your thoughts, actually, Andy, on the Hall of Fame in the past, so maybe you agree with Des.
Yeah, sorry, I was on mute there, actually, as I was talking. Yeah, I mean, I take his point. I mean, at the end of the day, I don't know if it's his first ballot, actually. I'm sure he's been on the ballot before, isn't he? He's well over 5 years retired, and look, his career. I suppose the Lewis thing was a bit of a redemption for him, but yeah, it's just one of the type of careers. Whereas he's, how can I put it, dominated his opponents and stuff. He's, Danny Williams was bad. Sam Peter, he beat up. I can't mind. He fought him twice. Did they know he was off the long layoff with Sam Peter as well? We came back and beat him in the rematch.
I know Vladimir fought him twice, didn't they?
Sam Peter. Oh, was
Vladimir batted him, didn't he? And won on points, and then he knocked him out in the rematch. Yeah, that's right.
It was. Larry Merchant obviously kind of like chewing him out as well. And I remember Bert Sugar, he absolutely hated the Klitschko brothers. It was definitely one of these styles, whereas he made it work for himself. Didn't he? He was his sheer size, granite chin as well, but Hall of Fame worthy. I don't know. It would need to be for some sort of kind of like does he transcend the sport a wee bit? I suppose he does. He's into politics and stuff, trying to kind of guide his country, I suppose, and stuff. I really don't know. I don't think he belongs. Technically, if it's his first ballot, he definitely doesn't deserve to be first ballot. Yeah, I just think he's one of the heavyweights as well. And you need to remember, his brother was shot on as well. That part of his career because of the opposition that was there. And you expect when Hay came through as well, and they come back. Thomas Adamek. He had that kind of wee reign up at heavyweight for a bit and stuff, and this wee guy, and he goes to Poland and stuff. It was a great atmosphere. I knew some boys that actually went out of that fight. It did something like. I think something like 30 or 40,000 or something like that. It was a great atmosphere, and he just kind of like beat up on Adam. It was just like guys like that. I remember the Solis fight. That was the one fight that I'd expected a wee bit of a test for him actually. And all the years, it's just. And then I've mentioned it before. Guys will remember it as well. Just to see him go out like that, his knee getting done, and then obviously Vitaly kind of leaning at him and stuff, and fucking goading him, calling him a pussy or whatever and stuff, and just shit, there was Chris Nips. I remember how the highlight of that fight really was Big Nips kind of crying afterwards.
Oh, swearing at the end.
Yeah, I'm so fucking sorry. I'm so fucking sorry.
They had to tell him off, didn't they? I think to stop swearing.
Oh, Christ's sake. It's been, I would say it's a bit of a kind of average career actually, but he's just he's part of that this was a dynasty, but he's part of that family, I suppose. He's the big names. They did their own. They broke away. If it was at Universal, I think it was, or Unibox. And that when it promoted themselves, got big millions euros TV deal with RTL for numerous years and stuff. So yeah, I mean they did fantastic for themselves. Just I think the more accomplished fighter
as a collection, Andy, maybe would you say it's like they almost came together to Undisputed? Between the two of them, they were like merged into one almost at the time.
I mean, look, it's not for us to say that they should have fought in that, but it has happened. It happened in Asia. I think it was Korea or Japan, and that there was two brothers ended up fighting. I need to go and pull it out and stuff like that. But they always say they would never fight each other. And okay, I'm not saying here like they should have, but you just thought, like, look, okay, the belt was there and stuff. You could, you know what I'm saying? Brothers just kind of like sorting it out, seeing who's the alpha of the family and that. But nah, it was never logical. It was never possible. And again, they were victims of their own eras, I suppose. Larry Holmes gets his moments, whereas he's not respected. He's coming off the back end of Ali's reign and stuff like that, and he had to carry the mantle. He wasn't Ali, and he got shot on for great heights. People like the Klitschko's, they kind of came along, that kind of like lack of depth era, I suppose. And it's not what it is this running about now. You didn't have the Furies, and Wilder, and Joshua and stuff like that, big names, but. Yeah, just the victims of their own success as well, I suppose.
Yeah, I think Klitschko a bit like Larry. He beat everyone that put in front of him, didn't he? You can't really. Not literally, but when the rain got going, obviously the Bird thing was extenuating circumstances. He redeemed himself against Lennox Lewis, even though he lost. So you can sort of slide them out in their own manner and say that he beat everybody who was put in front of him. It wasn't the greatest roster, but he did what he could. Came back as well. Big comeback story after the injury, and I don't know. The Hall of Fame doesn't really bother me. I don't care who gets in and out, to be honest with you. I mean, good luck to everybody who's trying to get in the Hall of Fame.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, you could look. I need to go and pull up the list and stuff, and we could do it seeing as it's kind of quiet and that, whatever. Like, but there is definitely fighters in there who just simply didn't belong. I mean, look, Barry McGuigan, for example. Some people say, well, he'll argue strenuously that he deserves to be in there. I suppose for one reason, he was one of the fighters that kind of, like, as I say, transcended the sport. When he fought, all the fight in Northern Ireland stopped, didn't they? Yeah. So things like that, I suppose, probably get taken into account rather than what achievements and that stuff like that. But again, if you're talking about fighters and what they achieved, I mean, I remember Ben and Eubank have been on the list now at least the last 2 years, I think. I'm sure Michael Nunn's, I don't know if he's already in it actually. There's an Asian fighter on it as well. Is it Chitladi? I think he's on it as well.
I know Yuri Arbacheikov has been knocking around a few of the years now.
Yeah, that's right.
I know Lee the Alcoholic Froch there, Andy, has thrown in my staple when it comes to brothers fighting. Harry Doovan, back in 2006, hadn't got an opponent, so he fought his dad, Harry Doovan Sr., knocked him out in the third round.
Remember that? I remember now you mentioned that one, actually. I'm trying to rack my brain. I'm going to go and pull up that one for the Japanese brothers, actually. Give me a second here.
While you're bringing it up, Andy, I can give a shout out to our second batch of Patreon subscribers, so that's absolutely perfect. Shout out while Andy's sorting things out to Graham Taylor, Jeff Conway, George Barry, Craig Jevons, Don McNamara. I haven't seen him in the chat yet. John Kearns, always knocking about, Nathan Shaw, Marvelous Mendo, Joe Ringer, James Addy, and Marco Barrera, Marty G, James Monaghan, and Zeconomics. If I've missed you out during the week, I do apologise. Maybe the guru will give me the sack, who knows. Any joy there, Andy?
Yeah, I've got it, mate. So June 5th, 1993. Japanese boxing fans, because two brothers, Kusu Yaguchi, he was 10-3-4, versus Katsuki Yaguchi, battled it out to capture the vacant Japanese minimum weight title. Despite being brothers, they delivered real brothers. They delivered a real fight, with both men wanting to knock each other out to prevent each other from receiving further punishment. I think the fight was later stopped. I think it was an absolute slugfest, apparently.
Surprised the mom didn't jump in to try and split them up.
Yep.
Do you remember the mom who jumped in with the
high heel?
High
Who was
heel.
that? Was it Larry Holmes? Was
I
it?
don't know if I've told you this story on the pod before, but the fighter who was losing was a guy from Wolverhampton. And I remember years ago, about 15, 20 years ago, me and my mate, Big John, were out afterwards in a kebab shop after a night out. And I was telling him that story. And a guy turns round, sure as I'm telling you now, and says to me, "Oh, that was my brother fighting that night, and that was my mom who jumped in the ring and hit him with the high heel shoe." And I don't know, why would you lie about something like that? And we were all laughing about it. But
Who was that? What was that fight?
Wolverhampton. I can't remember.
Oh, it was a named fight. It was only like kind of early half his career or something.
I don't know. I'll have to look it up. But yeah, so there might have been some truth to that. But there you go. So he said it was his mother who jumped in, and it was his brother who was getting battered.
Aye, so it's Kushi Yaguchi against Katsuki Yaguchi for Japan, 1993. Sorry.
Right. There we go. Chuckwu's going off on one here. He's annoyed about Gatti getting in, but as Andy said with Barry McGuigan, sometimes it is a popularity contest. Frank Bruno, they were saying, getting in there. And
I always remember actually, because it was bone of contention at the time when he got voted in. It was just, how long ago was that, Chuckwu? It was about 4 years ago. So the podcast we were running at the time, and Tommy went off on one in here one night, literally said that it was like, well, what is it, the Hall of Fame or the Hall of Popularity? And I kind of get his point. But at the same time, he's earned his spot as well, man. I mean, if he gave his life to some of their fights, you know.
Chuckwu says how Corey Spinks isn't in the IBHOF is diabolical. I don't know why he's so obsessed with Corey Spinks. Corey Spinks should be in the bin with Riddick Bowe's belt. Sorry, that's the only. Why are you so obsessed with Corey Spinks?
He's a brother.
It's just. No, but I'm a big Matthew Saad Mohammed fan, big Riddick Bowe fan. But I mean, Corey Spinks. Nobody wants to see him fight. Anyway, let's move on, shall we? Let's see if Rapping Rob Kelly's back with us. Are you there, Rob? Oh, he's unmuted. He's unsheathed. He's unheard. As of the moment, the quiet man, not John Ruiz. It's Rapping Rob Kelly. Do you want to try again, Roberto? No. Anybody else hearing him? Or was it just me?
He's gone.
Maybe try and add him again. A few gremlins in the system. Ghosts in the machine. Right, let's move on to Fight of the Week. I forgot to put one in last week, Ozzy, and you have nominated the fight between... Let's see if Rob's there. There, Rob? Nope. I'm struggling this week. Struggling with Roberto. He usually just jumps on fine. No picture.
Yeah.
Not sure what's going on. Yeah, you picked Khan versus Maidana, Ozzy, from 2010, would that have been?
Yeah, roughly around that.
10 or 9, 11. Let me check. Yeah, I think it was in December, wasn't it? I know that much. December the 11th, 2010. Amir Khan against interim titleist Marcos Maidana. The bout was for Khan's WBA light welterweight title, which Khan successfully defended. Take it away, then, Ozzy. A great fight from what I remember. Khan, beforehand, people goaded him to take the fight, weren't they? Because they thought that he wouldn't have the balls or the chin to stand up to someone like Maidana.
And he did have the balls, and he ultimately did have the chin, because he took some big shots that fight. Big shots. And yeah, he did. He was certainly uneasy and caused problems throughout the fight, but I thought this was a brilliant win. I applaud Maidana for getting up, because that body shot that dropped him in the first, it was punch perfect from Khan. and Maidana went there and he was badly hurt. And I think if there was, another 30 seconds in that first round, there's every chance he could have got Maidana out there. I think it was the first 6 rounds from memory were excellent from Khan. It was obviously a Freddie Roach in the corner at the time. They were on a decent run of form. I think it was he just beat coming off a Malignaggi win, but absolutely pissed the Malignaggi fight. Blasted out that Salita as well up in Newcastle. I think one in like a minute or something crazy like that. Yeah, Salita cowering in the corner. But Maidana certainly battled his way back and made a hell of a fight of it. Landed some big shots, and Khan showed great. He naturally has his vulnerabilities, but throughout the whole fight, he showed that he did have the balls, and his chin stood up to it. It really did, because we know Maidana can punch, and he landed some big right hands. And Khan stayed up, as I said, a couple of Bambi on ice moments, but stayed up. I think he was certainly more grateful for the final bell at the end. But a great win. Left the ring battered, bloodied and bruised, but he got the W. And yeah, I'd say it's certainly one of Khan's better wins of his career, in my opinion, the Maidana win.
One of the funny things, Andy, is reading back here on Wikipedia, you forget about all the bullshit shenanigans that are going on, regarding titles. It's like on May the 3rd, Oscar De La Hoya applied to the WBA for this, and then Malignaggi dropped this, and the interim was, you forget about all this stupid shit that's going on. But Tosh Bear says in the chat there, underrated chin, he can take a shot. I was talking to Ames during the week about this. I think it's about Khan. I'm not quite sure if his chin is that bad, but he doesn't protect it well enough. And he lets people hit him on it, and he's too brave sometimes for his own good. I'd say that's maybe 2 of the main problems regarding his punch resistance.
Yeah, as I say, he could be too quick, as you say, and just didn't get the hands back in time and stuff. You could always, it was one thing with Roach and that, you could tell him, you got to be responsible, because at that level, I remember saying it specifically, punches, you don't get lucky, especially at that world level. And as Ochi says, he had a few rocky moments in that fight against Maidana. He was dominated the first 3-4 rounds. Maidana really took a bit of time to kind of really recover for that body shot. But part of it as well will obviously be kind of move up in weight. Just to give him a chance to kind of like fill the legs out a bit in that as well. But to be honest, he's just one of the fighters. And that he just, when he gets tagged, it can really either like hurt him really badly, or he just goes into pure flight mode, or just kind of like wants to kind of battle back. But that period, I can actually run about what that fight, Maidana, Peterson, up to the Garcia fight as well as me. He was a fantastic runner for him, and he showed really that Kotelnik fight. It was absolutely pinpoint perfect. He was moving, he was shifting shots right down the middle and stuff, like crazy angles, and that just showed that pure speed. But it's just sometimes he couldn't develop. I don't know if it was because of Roach, who was purely more an offensive fighter, but to be honest, Khan was never the strongest inside fighter, really, and he was always just kind of go in there, hands up, and just kind of block shots and stuff, and then try and maybe a few flurries and stuff. And he was very quick off his shots and that as well. But I like the kind of more kind of defensive responsible in that as well. But I just don't think the chin definitely wasn't the strongest. I'm talking to here like he's a kind of like ex-fighter, because really he should be retired actually, considering what's the Alvarez knockout, the Crawford fight as well. I mean, remember that it wasn't even the Crawford kind of like spin him and stuff and kind of like catch him for the side with the punch. And it didn't like he got shot and that, So he's always had that vulnerability. I just think at that point with Roach, at that time, he was probably at the peak of his powers, his physical prime, I think. But over he took punishment in that fight. He took a hard fight against Peterson, Lamont Peterson as well, and obviously that Danny Garcia knockout was pretty brutal. So it takes its toll on that as well. He's had heavy sparring and that. He's been fighting Manny Pacquiao in the gyms and stuff. And if you listen to me as well, he actually sparred Andre Ward and that. So you can imagine the kind of the heavy beatings he's taken in the gyms and stuff. I'm joking about the Ward stuff and that, obviously, but yeah, it's he's done well for himself, as I say. But I just think at that point he was able to take a shot because he was in his physical prime. But he always had that vulnerability that if he just took one too many, he would definitely go. And yeah, it's just you see with the Garcia fight that it was a throat shot, a neck shot he got hit with and got put down with off that left hook.
Yeah.
And fantastic shot that was.
Yeah, he fucking beat Lamont Peterson as well. That was an awful decision.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that one. That was the man in the hat controversy, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was a shocker. He was jobbed there on the account. I felt for him there.
Let's welcome our second guest of the evening onto the call. He's the main man in the chat, Dave from Boxing's First. How are you, Dave?
Yeah, I'm good, mate. How are you?
Yeah, I'm not too bad. I'm keeping well, thanks. Watching much boxing. I know you were talking about the top rank card earlier in the chat there.
Yeah, I've got the same opinion as you guys, really. It's good to have boxing back, but there's nothing out there that shouts, stay up till 4 o'clock in the morning and watch me. It is what it is. Maybe they're testing things. We know that Eddie's going on about his garden fights and things like that, but nothing big's really materialising at the minute.
Yeah, Eddie's garden fights don't look like they're happening at the moment, but he's giving it a go. I mean, far from Eddie to say something that wasn't going to take place. His roster's looking a bit thin at the moment, though, Dave.
Yeah, it is. He's he's going to have to put the work in. And there's all this talk about the troubles with the zone. There seems to be a lot of negativity around at the minute, but we just need to get back in. When can we start filling stadiums again? Because it's hurting every sport, isn't it? We were talking about the football before, and it's just not the same. But obviously, we need to put safety first before the sport. But it's definitely hurting not just sport, but all industries at the minute, isn't it?
It certainly is. I mentioned Boxing's First there. You've obviously got the YouTube channel, do some really good videos, looking into fights, analysing them, breaking them down. Want to give the guys a bit of a shout out, tell you what you've been up to, what sort of fights you've been looking at lately?
Well, this week I've been doing something a bit different. Obviously, BoxRec, they put out their pound for pound list in February, was it? They updated it anyway. And there was a lot of controversy, whereas my first thoughts was, where's Inoue, where's Beterbiev? They just wasn't there. And then you've got Lomachenko down in 9. So I've never known how they work that system out. And to be honest, I've been looking at it all week, and I have put a video out. It's half an hour long, and I still don't 100% know how they put them points together. How can you have a mathematical formula for something as alive as boxing, as something with just so many variables as boxing? It's never going to sit 100% true.
When it comes to BoxRec, should we just put these type of things to one side and just say, look, it's a great resource for finding out fighters' records. A lot of volunteers do a brilliant job, and just take the positives and say, you know what, they can have their algorithms, which have been controversial for quite a long time, the way they add up pound for pound fighters, and just take it for what it is, maybe?
100%, I agree with that. I remember when I started my YouTube channel back in January, and what I started doing first was a series called 5 in 5, which was looking at a fighter's 5 best fight and try to break them down in 5 minutes. And you can't remember every fighter's best 5 wins, So to have them records at hand like that, and then there's also links to wiki from BoxRec, so they'll throw you across to Wikipedia where you can read up on the fight, and obviously they'll shortcut to videos and things like that. It's a really good tool for looking back at previous fights, or just to see, if you've got a fight coming this weekend, who've they fought before, what type of styles have they been in with, and it's priceless really as a website. But like you say, the algorithm and the point system, it just isn't there. I don't think it ever will be.
No, I agree. Shout out to John Shep, who runs the BoxRec channel as well. Dave's with us here. So the big fight on everybody's lips, whether it will take place or not, who knows? Fury versus Joshua. You're a great man for a style and tactical breakdown. How do you think this fight could be won and lost? What is each guy going to do, or try to counteract the other fella? I mean, it's an intriguing stylistic matchup more than anything. How do you see it?
It is very interesting, especially with the way that Tyson Fury came out in his last fight, in a way that he said he would, and nobody had seen it before, and how effective he was. And I was just saying, I've got a couple of mates who don't like boxing. They're not big into boxing. They're only part-time mates for that reason. But I said to them, if I showed you Tyson Fury, Deontay Wilder 2, and I showed you Anthony Joshua, Andy Ruiz 2, and asked who would win between Fury and Joshua, 100% of the people who don't really watch boxing would say Tyson Fury, just for how explosive he was. So looking back at that, I looked to see when Tyson Fury had looked vulnerable, and obviously he had the knockdown against Steve Cunningham, and we had the fight with a lot of people saying Otto Walling fight, he looked vulnerable. So I just tried to see how they sort of brought their style into the ring to try and get at Fury, because if you watched him in the Wilder 2 fight, you wouldn't there's no real way to beat him. So you have to look back to when he was vulnerable. And I think you can't chase Tyson Fury down. If you go after him, his movement's so good, he'll just make you miss, he'll make you pay. But at the same time, you can't be too back-footed, because if you back off from him and he gets that weight behind his shots, again, you're in a world of trouble there. So, but what Walling and what Steve Cunningham looked to do was, when Fury was throwing that lead left jab, he carries it at his waist, his hand, naturally, his lead hand. And as he came forward with that jab, they met him and they threw at the same time as him. And that's where the opening was. If you watch when Cunningham knocks him down with that massive overhand right, he timed his lead jab, because as Fury brings that jab back in, he naturally brings it back to his waist, because that's where it's comfortable. That's where he sits it, and he's open at that point. So timing is massive to beat Tyson Fury. I don't think you can go inside and wrestle him and out-brawl him, because Joshua's just not big enough to do that. So...
yeah, go ahead, Dave.
Yeah, so that's the only weaknesses that I could see in his game. Obviously, with the Walling fight, he had the cut on his eye as well, so it might be good for Joshua, even though it's not really in his comfort zone. Is to just get a bit rough with him. You know, we've all seen the heads go in with the likes of Holyfield, Hopkins, people like that. We've seen elbows go in, and they can turn fights, even though it's not by the book. That can turn a fight, and he did seem to struggle with that eye Fury. He was constantly dabbing at it. It bothered him. So he could really swing it in his favour that way. But with...
Yeah, you make a good point, because I remember when Big John McDermott gave him so much trouble. Obviously, he was a taller, sort of pudding-shaped heavyweight, but he got the jab off well. And whenever Fury fought the guys like Nikolai Firther, I was at that fight at the time, Firther really went at him and threw wild, swinging hooks. And Nevin Pajkic was the same as well. But this new defensively responsible, negative, almost to a point Fury, negated that, and he wasn't getting knocked down as much, apart from obviously when he went back in against Cunningham. But it's interesting points that you make. As for Anthony Joshua himself, what has he got to do then, do you think? What can he do with his own abilities to try and get at Fury? Because a lot of people at the moment in the, well, I suppose in the hardcore boxing community, think that Fury, if he gets the jab going and gets moving, then he'll maybe box AJ's ears off. But AJ's no mug, you know, he's going to be able to do things himself.
Yeah, AJ's definitely not a mug. The people are having a go because he lost to an Andy Ruiz, or Andy Ruiz only came in last minute, but that can work against you as well. If you're preparing for Big Baby Miller, and Andy Ruiz comes into the ring, he's completely different size and shape. Well, maybe not shape, but he's a different size, different fighter than Miller. So it worked against Joshua as well. So Joshua had to make changes to, you know, to try and get the win. Obviously, he didn't get it that night, and he came back and he did what he had to do in the rematch. But he's got power, Joshua. He has got a shot on him, and he fires straight shots. When Fury was preparing for Wilder's looping. He's round the outside, and it seems easy to defend against, and it is if you're going, straight line shots down the middle. So if he can time and get under that lead jab of Fury and time a right hand down the middle, I think he has got a real chance. But it's just hard when Tyson Fury has shown such a devastating performance against a 5-year champion who didn't have the best resume, no, but he's still a 5-year champion, and he destroyed him the way he did. It's hard to see how you're going to negate that, how you're going to get past that. But for me, he's got to keep his shot straight, and he's got to get under that jab and get that right hand over the top.
Neck on the line then, Dave. If it does go to plan, obviously we're looking at both guys sometime next year. How do you think it will play out? By what method of victory does the main man come out on top?
I can't look past a Fury stoppage. I really can't, because Fury's style is more wrong for Joshua than Joshua's is for Fury. We've seen when Joshua's in most trouble is when a fighter goes at him. He dropped Ruiz. He had Andy Ruiz down, and it seemed like Andy Ruiz's mindset flipped then. He just said, you know what, I'm just going to have a go. I'm going to put it on you, and if you knock me out, you knock me out, but I'm going to give everything I've got. And as soon as you rush Anthony Joshua, he seems panicked. He did seem panicked in that fight, and he didn't like the constant, the high pace, the rough and tumble. He didn't seem to like that, and Tyson Fury thrives in that. Tyson Fury loves going inside, loves going to the trenches, and he'll fight there all night. Whereas Joshua just seems to like to be patient. He'll move. He'll see what's in front of him. He's not he's just all wrong for him. For me, Fury is all wrong for Joshua, and I can't see it. I want it to be a really good fight. So they've signed for 2 fights potentially. Well, obviously they haven't signed. They've sort of agreed purses for 2 fights. You wouldn't want a really quick stoppage in the first fight or a really clear result, and then the second fight means what then? It doesn't mean a great deal. So you'd like a close fight, so the second fight's even more intriguing.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. You think of like Riddick Bowe, Evander Holyfield or something, and the way those fights went. But, if, like you say, if someone gets knocked out, but even more so than getting knocked out early, if someone gets completely dominated and is clueless, like a Calzaghe-Lacey type performance by the end of 12 rounds, where's the appetite of to go back again and look at that? You do need a sort of Bowe Holyfield fight, or maybe not at that level, because that's, sort of the elite of the elite, but maybe something like that. There's competitive, there's that area. We say, well, if this happened, if that, whenever Wilder, Fury, it went to the draw, but even if someone had won, you could have said, well, he knocked him down and he got back up again, just to keep that intrigue and keep it open for the second fight.
Yeah, exactly. There was that hunger there because you had the Tyson Fury fans, or the people that felt Tyson Fury won that first fight with Wilder, who wanted the rematch so Fury could get his redemption. And then you had the people who were saying, well, Tyson Fury was down for 11 seconds or 12 seconds or whatever they were saying. So there was that hunger there for them to get to see who the better fighter was. But like you say, if this is a one-sided beating, who wants to see it twice? It just doesn't make sense. But obviously, they will do it twice if the money's there. Like Deontay Wilder wants to get in again. He doesn't want to get in again because I personally don't feel he stands a chance in that third fight with Fury. He wants to get in there because there's no other fight that brings that money for Deontay Wilder. So
well said, yeah. No, you're right. Just before we let go, Dave, I want to get your opinions on Gennady Golovkin, because I watched your Golovkin Derevyanchenko breakdown, the little nuances, the things they were doing. What do you think about Golovkin? As in, I mean, he's not shot. That's a ridiculous thing to say, but possibly on the slide. Where do you think he's at the moment?
He's certainly in the latter stages of his career, isn't he? He said after that fight, I was watching is it Montero Unboxing Live, and somebody went in the chat saying they've got it on good terms that he had COVID-19 in that fight. I said, well, that's ridiculous, because Derevyanchenko would have left the fight with COVID-19 surely, and nobody tested positive. So I don't know where these people come from, but he certainly didn't seem 100%, did he? He seemed a lot tighter, a lot earlier than he usually does. And Chenko's not a bad fighter. If he faces Canelo next, we'll see where Chenko's at, because I think he's a very solid fighter. Obviously, if you've seen the video, I did give it to Chenko on points. I thought he should have got the decision, but I can't take too much from Golovkin in that fight. If he was, as we all suspect, he maybe had flu, he maybe had a cold. He didn't look himself. But I think, what we're talking, 2 years maybe of Triple G left, possibly. I'd like to see the Canelo fight again. I definitely think he's still competitive at that level. So if he can fight a Canelo, he can fight anybody in the next 2 years. He's definitely not dropped that much, if he's dropped at all.
I think the key will be how quick they get him back into the ring. I don't think he's someone who needs to sit on the sidelines for any longer than possible. I know obviously the situation we're in at the moment, but he is one of these guys that they need to get back in against somebody who's going to push him, obviously not beat him, and shed that rust, and then aim for Canelo. Because I think if he sits on the shelf for too much longer, it's going to be really detrimental, like you say, given that of his age and the fact that he only has a limited shelf life left.
Yeah, absolutely. I think if you look at when Andre Ward did the number on Kovalev, and people said it could have gone either way and things like that. Kovalev seemed to lose interest in the sport. Obviously, he went on, he fought Yard, he went on, he got beat off Canelo. But I think Golovkin, he hasn't lost interest. He could have felt sorry for himself. He could have looked at the decisions and said, I'm not having this in boxing, I'm being screwed, and sort of lost a step. But he doesn't. He seems still geared up and still keen, and that tells me that he still feels he's at that level. And like you say, he wouldn't walk straight in with a Canelo next. I can't see that. He needs something just to keep him ticking over, make sure it's still there, and then, like you say, get in and let's have this trilogy.
Lovely stuff, Dave. Thanks for joining us. Where can everybody find you? Give us the shout outs to all the channels, social medias and whatnot.
Yeah, mostly on Twitter for the social media at Boxing's First, and YouTube at Boxing's First as well. So you can find me on both of them. And like I say, I only started in January, slowly growing. It was a good time to start because you had to look forward to Wilder and Fury, the rematch, and then suddenly we have no boxing at all. So everyone, like the IFL boys, are recycling stuff. Everybody's recycling old news or grasping at anything to try and get a video out. It is difficult times. But yeah, Twitter at Boxing First, YouTube at Boxing First, and we'll keep the ball rolling and look forward to big fights.
Absolutely, they're coming soon. Thanks very much, Dave. Everybody go and give them a follow, doing some great stuff over there. You're welcome back anytime. Cheers.
Thanks a lot, pal. Have a good one.
All the best. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
There's Dave there, Boxing's First, to be found in the chat. Knows what he's talking about. Good guy, spoke well as well. Can string a sentence together, which is always helpful. Rapping Rob Kelly can string a sentence together whenever we can hear him. Are you there, Roberto? Yeah, there he is.
Yo. Hey, I bought
Coming
these
in.
noise reducing headphones because of all the listeners giving out, and they really were noise reducing because I couldn't work the microphone. So that was some noise reduced to start with. Good guests tonight. I heard all the guests like Al Fiesta and Boxing First. Who knows? Maybe Boxing First will turn up on IFL or one of these this week. Could be a big week for him.
Evening, Oscar.
We get a call from Evening Umar.
Yeah, recycling content. Maybe not recycling their own every week, but yeah, we're bringing the guests for everybody as always. What you been watching this week, Rob? I'm sure Shakur Stevenson, Jesse Magdaleno, Robbie Z. Ramirez. They've all been on the Rapping Rob Kelly radar.
Yeah. I watched the highlights of the Shakur Stevenson fight. I don't think there was any need to go back and watch that in great detail now that we know that ESPN are touting him as the next Mayweather. He's got to be the next Mayweather. No, good body shot stoppage, and I think he's probably grown into a better fighter than I thought he would, even at this stage. But we have to see him in against somebody before they start heralding him again as the second coming of Floyd. I actually this week I watched an old Sky documentary on Roy Jones. I put it in the chat. Shocking that I'd be watching something on Roy Jones, but I think it was post Montel Griffin too for sure. But mad to think back at the time when he was number one pound for pound in the sport, how many detractors he had. I mean, you hear Max Kellerman say that nobody at the time thought that Floyd in his prime was better than Roy in his prime. Apart from Colin Hart, you want to watch him in the documentary, he said the jury is out on Roy Jones. So some things never change. So I watched that, and I've been watching a couple of old fights, dude. Nothing too taxing. I'm just waiting for the action to get started again, really, like everybody else.
Talking about the jury being out, Rob, I was rewatching Floyd Mayweather against Oscar De La Hoya for a piece from 2007 during the week, and they had an interesting discussion in round 9, which I was trying to cut, but you can't cut clips with music and all this bollocks, so I give up in the end. But anyway, they were having a discussion midway through round 9 about just how good Mayweather was. This is obviously 2007 version, but Manny Stewart and the boys Manny Stewart wasn't too complimentary. I mean, he says, yeah, he seems like a pretty good fighter. Obviously, he was to go on and do other things after that, but at the time, the boys weren't completely bowled over by old Floyd.
Well, I think you're probably asking the wrong guy. Like, you know, he's fucking trained Thomas Hearns and been in up against Leonard and fucking Hagler in his time. He probably wasn't as he did the Floyd. Plus Floyd and Manny definitely had tension over the years. I don't know if it was like, I think Floyd found him a little bit disrespectful in his comments, and then he bit back several times saying that Manny didn't know anything about boxing, which was fucking ridiculous. But yeah, there was a bit of tension there between the two of them for sure. Larry Merchant was a big detractor of guys in the who were considered the favourite. By the way, he's kind of the anti-Max Kellerman, wasn't he? Like, he was very, very harsh on Jones during his career. Like, very extremely reluctant to give him credit. Like, but you know, saying all that, you'd give anything to have HBO back in the fold now. Consider their broadcasting landscape, you'd give anything to have that HBO team back. Fuck me.
I think, Andy, I would, but Prime HBO, do we forget sometimes how bad HBO were in the last few years? Not necessarily them, but them to a certain degree, but definitely the content they were putting out. I mean, talk about dying a slow death. I mean, we're talking Prime HBO we want back.
Yeah, Christ, you'd be talking about mid-90s. Even before HBO was HBO, it was TVKO or something like that.
Yeah, the TVKO, that Don King had something to do with them, didn't they?
Yeah, but you had like Lamplay, you had Merchant and stuff. It was a kind of precursor to the HBO and stuff, wasn't it? But yeah, I mean, they used to run their own specials, and they'd have the fighters in the studios and stuff, and do their own segments. I mean, I suppose that 24/7 stuff that they did at the time was quite a first at the time, wasn't it? Mm-hmm. Small kind of program, 30-minute shows and stuff, kind of gain you access to stuff that you never really.
It was a game changer, wasn't it? Really,
it was.
Afterwards.
Yeah, well, yeah, because you had the Fight Camp 360, and then obviously you had the Face Off thing, which was obviously then like gimmicked by Sky Sports and other things. I mean, obviously WBSS came out with their own stuff and that. Yeah, but for a good period at least, HBO were leading the way. Then obviously when Floyd did the split to Showtime, I think that was the change. Pacquiao obviously kind of came to his run, kind of ended by Top Rank. He kind of then became a free agent. Cotto retired. Alvarez went with Oscars, which was to Showtime, wasn't it? So they really lost a lot of big talent. Mostly retired.
Canelo went to Showtime and came back.
Yeah, he did, but it was for like one fight or whatever it was. A couple of fights, and he was away again. Trying to think who else, because talent-wise, who we lost, big fighters. Like I'm trying about the heavyweights and stuff. The Klitschko's, Lewis would have been away, but then Holyfield would have definitely been retired and that. So really, there was really nobody. Obviously, again, as well as because what happened with Oscar at Golden Boy. When he went into rehab, you had Richard Schaefer then, cut up a Showtime deal, and all those fighters ended up going to Al Heyman just about. I think the only one he just saved was Canelo and a few others, and all those fighters are now end up with Showtime, are now on either on Fox, PBC. I look at Showtime now. I mean, they're in the same position that HBO were in. What was it, 3-4 years ago?
Yeah. Showtime is shot to shit, aren't they, at the moment?
Aye. Espinosa's been quiet recently, isn't it? Yeah.
I know I'm in the minority here. I actually enjoy listening to him on interviews. He gives you stuff, I think, Espinosa. He's not afraid. He's like a wee snide, isn't he? He's not afraid to let something drop, like Eddie. Like, Eddie Hearn, and then this happened. You're like, oh, really? I don't think you were supposed to, but he knows exactly what he's doing.
Eddie's a snider, though, man. Christ's sake. Absolute proper. I mean, I don't know what is Espinosa some sort of lawyer and that. So if he is, definitely snide to the core.
Espinosa was the lawyer to De La Hoya, lawyer to Tyson, I think, as well.
Was that as well? I mean, Eddie's always been a snide. That's just that kind of silver spoon in him,
I'll never forget whenever Eddie was running a show at the Odyssey. It was just before Frampton was fighting somebody, and there was rumours that it was going to be at Windsor Park. Do you remember the McGuigan was always going to do the Windsor Park show, but he never quite got it over the line. Anyway, Eddie ran a Ryan Burnett show in the Odyssey, and in the post-fight press conference, he let slip, quote unquote, about, so Frampton will be fighting so-and-so here in such and such a date. And everyone was like, really? I thought it was going to be Windsor. No, I was upstairs. I saw the seating plan and the pricing and all that, and made it out like it was an accident, but he knew exactly what he was doing. Of course, it was on the websites and all that the next day.
Aye, snidey bastard, just going to...
Another interesting thing, I don't know whether the guys remember this. I was watching Tyson against Lewis from 2003 or 2004. I think it was 2003, wasn't it? Tyson Lewis is on the heavyweight fight, obviously, the biggest fight of the 2000s in the heavyweights. And there was a few interesting things I've forgotten about. HBO didn't actually have Lampley commentating that night. Fran Charles did it with Larry Merchant and I think it was Roy Jones Jr. It wasn't. Kellerman was nowhere to be seen back then. And also, Jimmy Lennon Jr. on the night didn't shout out, "It's showtime." Whenever they did the introductions, he shouted out, "It's fight night" or "It's fight time" or something. So, I mean, it doesn't really matter in the grand scheme of things.
Did Buffer do his bit?
He did his bit, yeah.
That's right, okay.
Yeah, so I wonder where Lampley was, and I wonder why Lennon wasn't able to say his, obviously, world famous catchphrase.
Yeah. It was just a bit like, I suppose, remember, I forget who was the Pacquiao Mayweather promotion, but commentator panel, but it was a split between Showtime and HBO, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Maybe something like that.
Bernstein was definitely on one of them, I think, wasn't it?
Malinagi was on another one as well, I'm sure. Was he not?
I'm wondering maybe then, Andy, whether
was he Sky?
Some kind of post. It was on YouTube, maybe some kind of post broadcast that HBO went or something, because if you think about it, Charles, Merchant, and Jones, you would have had like a Showtime phone in there. So maybe it was a different thing I was watching. I don't know.
Maybe.
Jimmy isn't allowed to say it's Showtime on HBO, probably, says Lee the Alcoholic Fudge. Yeah, that probably makes sense. There you go. Anyway, moving on. We'll go on to our lightweight shortly. Before we do, just to remind you, you're listening to the Boxing Asylum Nuthouse podcast, episode 378. Rapping Rob Kelly's here with us, Andy, Ozzy. We've had Al Siesta on. We've had Dave from Boxing's First. Everybody in the chat is having a good time. The Alcoholic Fotch is there. Chuck Crew's losing his head. Mr. Perpetual has joined us, maybe for the first time. Haven't seen him before. Welcome to you. Who else is there? So we'll flick up and down, shall we? See who's knocking about. MB. MB's always on. Yeah, I thought Dave from Boxing's First spoke very well, actually. He knows the score. James Tapner, take Ames behind the scenes, hooking up Al Siesta for me, throwing in questions as well. Thanks to Ames, thanks to Ben Faruqi. Feels like the end of the show. Better keep going here. Belly of the Week's coming up shortly. A few shout outs, a few thank yous. Let's give final thank yous of the night to the Patreon guys before we move on to the lightweight tournament. Martin, Joe Kennedy, Ted Barrett, Danny Young, James Bernard, Gav, Baby Doyle, Nathan Newman, Chris Ansell, Owen Spillane, Jasper, John Swan, Ryan Deal, Jason Cheel, and Daniel Adams. Let's move on to the lightweights then. Just before we go on to the lightweights, Andy, I want to give a shout out, a bit of an unusual shout out here to someone who doesn't get mentioned too often these days. Pioneer of female boxing that she was. The BBC did an interview with Jane Coach this week. And I feel sorry for Jane, because you remember back in the 90s, whenever she came through, the media absolutely ripped her. They told lie after lie after lie about this woman. They made it out like she was some barroom brawler going around offering out men. You know, she was rough as houses, rolling around on the floor, battering people. She was a piece of shit. They tried to, was it Barrymore or something? They brought her on and tried to make a mug of her. And I don't think she's anything like that at all. Every interview I've heard with her since, she's come across with a lot of class and a lot of decency. And she's told her story, obviously, to Trish Dixon and that. I want to give a shout out to Jane Coach on the.
Yeah, Jane follows me on Twitter and that. I remember speaking to her doing it at Wembley during the Burns Series fight and stuff like that. I mean, she is funny. Like she'll never hold back. And you know, again, I suppose it's a bit like, you know, the what we're going through at the minute with the Black Lives Matter stuff and that, and all the kind of protests and stuff. She at that time, you know, was fighting the establishment. They didn't want women's boxing and stuff. You know, the women shouldn't have been fighting and stuff. But I forget, she was on the road constantly, wasn't she, for fights and stuff?
Yep.
And finally, I mean, I don't know what kind of version of World Title she picked up and stuff, but her and who's the American again?
She fought, was it Lucia Riker, I think?
Yeah, that's the one. Right, is it Riker? Her and somebody else were, you know, the kind of the preeminent kind of like women, you know, main women's fighters at the time. And as you mentioned, Steve, go and listen to Trish Dixon's podcast where she gets the, you know, good point across. I think she gets a wee bit emotional kind of getting her story across and that as well, just what she had to kind of fight through and stuff. So, well, when I spoke to her anyway, she doesn't kind of come across as like thick and stuff. I wouldn't want to mess with her anyway. I remember seeing a video on YouTube and stuff. She's kind of like shadow boxing with this guy, and then she just lets a fucking jab just slip, you know, an inch too close and fucking bust the guy's nose up in that, you know. So yeah, I wouldn't want to go hit my broken pie packet like or say anything wrong to her, like, so just I would just leave it at that.
Yeah, shout out to Jane. That's as good end to Bristol and spar men, but yeah, I think it's just another indication of the way the media fuck people up, man, and they were telling just pure lies about curly watch. Yeah, but women's boxing is a bit crap. My opinion on women's boxing is let them get on with it. Don't tell me it is what it isn't. And if there's a good fight, come on, I'll watch it. It's a bit like men's boxing, really. I enjoyed Pursoon against Katie Taylor. I've no interest in Terry Harper against Jonas. Harper seems okay, decent fighter. Seems like she's got a bit of charisma about her. Natasha Jonas is shit. Not interested in her whatsoever. Same as men's fights, really. If it's decent, I'll watch it. If you bring in someone out, looks like they've got the Lost Property shorts on and a frigging vest that's about 3 times too big for them, and they're 5'6" at heavyweight, I'm not interested in that shit. But there you go. Jane Coach. Shout out to Jane anyway. Let's get on to the lightweights then, boys, shall we? Bring up the first one. 2 minutes or less. This list is provided by the one and only Mr. Ozzy Smith. So we'll go to you first, Ozzy, in honour of you. Shout out to Chuckwu. He's been away all show. Quite the achievement for Chuckwu there. He threw in a list as well. So did Joe Kennedy. We've got your list, Ozzy. So final number 1. 2 minutes or less. Vasyl Lomachenko against forgotten southpaw maybe these days, Artur Grigorian. Lomachenko, Grigorian, Ozzy.
Yeah, technical fight, but obviously Grigorian was a very decorated amateur. His record was certainly padded. I mean, I think he held the lightweight title for about 7 years or something like that. But ultimately, Lomachenko is better in every department. We saw what happened, and we were talking about it off air. Grigorian cashed out in his one and only defeat, and I certainly think that Lomachenko would certainly put it on him. As we said, Grigorian's very good technically, can punch himself, but I don't think Lomachenko would have any issues in this one, and I think he'd get Grigorian out of there between 8 and 10 rounds.
Interesting. There you go. Lomachenko going through to semi-final number 1. Quick word on Grigorian, actually. He had some interesting fights, I suppose. Oscar De La Hoya beat Jesse James Lehar. The title became vacant whenever Oscar moved up to super lightweight. Grigorian picked it up then. Fought against a guy that I've mentioned on the pod before called Marty Jackubowski. This is some character, this fella. Had about 130 wins. He would fight in like Tennessee or Kentucky or Alabama about 10 times in a row. Then he would step up and get beat. But like Saul Farah, really. Then he would get beaten. and then he would go back down and have another 10 fights in the Kentucky Showgrounds and back up. Anyway, he got a shot at the WBO title, as you do back in the day, mid-90s, against Artur Grigorian, and lost. A few other names on Grigorian's record that might be of interest.
Fought in Hooters, that boy, as well.
Yep. Oh, he's a good lad. Good lad, old Marty. Marco Rudolph, Andy, Gregorian beat. Rudolph was an interesting one. He beat Oscar De La Hoya as an amateur, but De La Hoya got revenge over him. He was an East German, I think, from the old East German bloc. De La Hoya got revenge over him in the final of the 1992 Barcelona Olympics and won the gold medal. So but he didn't really turn out as a decent pro. Plus, continuing the De La Hoya route, you see how these guys start reappearing in the rankings, especially the WBO, over and over again. Giorgio Campanella, I don't know if you remember him, Andy, an Italian. He was unbeaten. He fought Oscar for the WBO title, knocked Oscar down, would have been about 95, 96, got knocked out by Oscar. Anyway, he came back round and had another shot against Artur Grigorian, lost that one. A few other people, Sandro Casamonica, I'm going to mention him shortly as well, and Antonio Pitalua, last seen getting the shit beaten out of him by Edwin Valero. So quite the run from Grigorian, who also beat Stefano Zoff, Rocky Martinez, and Matt Zegan before losing the title to Acelino Freitas.
Yeah, he got an absolute beating off Freitas as well, didn't he? Didn't really fight much after that. I've actually got Oscar's career set. I managed to get a copy of it the other week there, so I might be come across that fight actually. What's his name? Sandro Casamonica? Campanella. It's Campanella.
No, Giorgio Campanella, yeah. Beside the De La Hoya fight and possibly the Grigorian fight, there's not a lot to write home about, but he knocked Oscar down, if I remember correctly, yeah.
Yeah, I'll need to go and check that then. So obviously I'll get around it at some point in that. But yeah, Grigorian, one of the guys, I think he was, it was something crazy defences he had or something like that, that belt, whatever it was he had. But, yeah. But I would need to say, man, it was B-level opposition, C-level opposition he was fighting. Probably, again, it's more predicament to the WBO at that time, actually. Maybe it was at late 90s, 2000s, stuff like that. You were getting guys for like, say, Hungary and all that type of fucking ex-Soviet place that were kind of pop up the rankings at that point as well, weren't you? So, yeah. Wasn't that a great run of terror, to be honest with you?
No, WBO as well was... I remember when De La Hoya won the WBO title originally. It wasn't the same one. It was the super featherweight title. He beat a guy called Jimmy Bradal from Denmark who got brought over. And I was rereading articles from like the LA Times that were written at the time. I was rereading them recently. And the guy made a point of saying they're lightly regarded. Like they were very clear that the WBO was like a bit like the IBO is now. You know, this is a stepping stone for De La Hoya. Whenever he wins the title, he is expected to go up and... unify with the IBF champion at the time, who was the IBF champion. He ended up beating it. He ended up fighting him and beating him at lightweight in 2 rounds. Oh, friggin' hell, who was it? Oh, it doesn't matter anyway. But the point is, Andy, the WBO was pretty much lowly ranked by everybody.
Yeah, still, well, at that point, it took me a really long time to kind of get the recognition and stuff. But again, as I say, it's just another alphabet soup stuff, isn't it? You know, just another one to kind of add into the pie. Just fucking bastards, man. I just, you know what I'm saying, man? It's just fucking money for all rope and that. So it is. I mean, actually, you got to pay to get a fight sanctioned, and then you've actually got to pay to get a replica belt sent to you. You've probably got to pay for the postage as well, if these bastards, knowing them.
Devin Haney must be out to frigging packet with postage.
No, it's emails.
Belts he's getting sent.
No, he'd be doing all his money on printing and stuff like that, trying to print his belt off and that, or the paper and that, you know.
Yes, the IBF fighter I was trying to remember. I'm sure you all won't sleep tonight unless you're here. I was thinking Rafael Rivera in my head, but that didn't sound right because he fought against Santa Cruz recently. It was Rafael Ruelas in 1995. Oscar unified the WBO lightweight title with Ruelas' IBF title. And then they said, well, no, he's a proper world champion. He's got the IBF now. But the WBO was lightly regarded. Go ahead, Rob.
His brother was a good fighter as well, Gabriel Ruelas.
Yep.
Did one of them beat Jacob, did they? Gary Jacob. One of the Ruelas brothers. Maybe it was Gabriel. Anyway, sorry, I digress.
No, you're okay. Digress into quarterfinal number 2, Rob. It's all yours. We've got Roberto Duran against Jose Luis Castillo. Rob, Roberto Duran against Jose Luis Castillo.
Bracket fight, but only one winner. Prime Castillo, lightweight, absolutely tremendous. As I mentioned before on the pod, a lot of people thought he was the next Chavez Senior rather. But Roberto Duran at lightweight is not going to lose to Jose Luis Castillo. especially if it's over 50 rounds of his Duran's prime. I think he just outworks him. Too much movement side to side, too much energy, and too much dog in him when it comes to it to lose to Castillo.
Duran moves forward. Few nominations for Bellew of the Week regarding Duran as well. People discussing his career up at middleweight, and he might be interested in that. He might be more interested in quarterfinal number 3, which features a couple of quality fighters. Juan Manuel Marquez going in against the guy we were talking off air, Andy. He'll be tough enough, strong enough, fit enough with a good enough jab to give many of the great lightweights trouble. A man after your own heart, Ken Buchanan. Juan Manuel Marquez, Andy, against Ken Buchanan, quarterfinal number 3. Who you got? You're on mute there, Andy. Maybe giving us the stylistic breakdown.
Sorry, mate. It's a hard one, actually. I'm gonna go with Ken. I'm gonna go with Ken Buchanan. It's purely because like so who he fought and stuff like that. You know, Ruben Navarro, Laguna, Duran, Ortiz. Who else? The Japanese kid. I forgot by the top of my head at the minute. I think it's like Guts, Charlie Nash, Jim Watt, stuff like that. I just think you know, a lot of ruggedness, very, very cute fighter, very, very very good boxer, very, very technical fight. I think it's got distance written all over it. I just think his reach as well would be a bit problematic for Marquez. Where I think if it came on the inside and stuff, I think Marquez certainly would have his successes. But I think if Buchanan just keeps it boxed and keeps it on the jab, keeps it moving, he could definitely win it on points. So I'm going to go Ken on points.
Yeah, Jason, you misheard Rob Kelly. It wasn't Danny Jacobs. It was Gary Jacobs, Scottish fighter who fought Pernell Whitaker. Good fighter, Gary, Southpaw, Jewish finest. Yeah. Jason says Clarissa Shields seems a horrible person, but I'd soak up her braids with the Chukwu holy water. I'm liking that.
Deary fucking me.
What a man. Right, let's move on. Aussie lightweight quarterfinal number 4. Who's going to be joining Lomachenko, Duran, and Ken Buchanan? We're going to say, tell you what, this rate, we're going to have a couple of fights that have already happened, aren't we? I think possibly anyway. Quarterfinal number 4, Manny Pacquiao against Terence Crawford. Aussie.
Difficult, this one. Really difficult. I mean, I've seen it in the news now, and Bob Arum described it as a blockbuster fight, and I think that's probably it's a great way to describe it. We all know how good Pacquiao was, the way he's rose through the weights. Certainly not lost that power, nor the speed as well. And I think the one thing you can probably say is that Crawford's not come up against somebody like Pacquiao who posing the problems. But Crawford's also got his own ability, his own qualities as well. Very well-rounded fighter, big, strong, can punch. I'm probably going to side with. I'm probably going to go with Pacquiao in this one. I don't think there would be a. I don't think it'd be a stoppage. I think it'd be a very close fight. Talking like a 115, 113 to Pacquiao.
Pacquiao moves forward then, boys. Let's put it into the mix and see who we've got. Obviously, Buchanan. I'm going to try and see if I can fix this. Could be Buchanan obviously fought against Duran. Let's have a look. Right, Andy, this is a tough one for you here. You're going to love this one, Andy. Vasyl Lomachenko against Roberto Duran.
Fuck, man. I mean, if it was one thing that really bothered Duran, really was movers. But I'm telling you, see if Duran catches him like Linares caught him. I'm going to say Duran knocks him out. I'm going to say knocks him out. I just think he is very cute. He could turn him. He'll have his moments, and he'll probably make those moments count and stuff. You know, and Duran really looked to it didn't matter who you were, actually looked to fucking try and hurt you. I'm going to say Duran knocks him out. I'm going to go late stoppage. If we're going, another fighter who fought 15 rounds, set a savage pace to it. If he was committed, dedicated, and bang on the weight, he was a fucking monster to deal with. I'm going to Duran knockout.
What round do you think, Andy?
I'm going to go round
Go late,
10.
wouldn't he? Yeah, go
Round
late.
10.
Yeah. Okay, Roberto Duran moves forward. Now, Rob, it's all down on you. We could have a dead rubber as a final here, but Ken Buchanan against Manny Pacquiao, Rob. Prime for prime, Ken Buchanan against Manny Pacquiao.
I think Pacquiao by stoppage. Yeah, too much firepower. Not that Ken Buchanan couldn't have given him problems counter punching and all a la Marquez, but I just think Manny Pacquiao would overwhelm him. Too much power, too much speed.
Interesting. Manny goes through. Then obviously Roberto Duran fought Ken Buchanan, winning the fight. Was it 13th round, Andy, by knockout to the bollocks?
It was, mate. Should have really been a foul, actually. I remember one night at a dinner show, there was Ken Buchanan and Roberto Duran at the top table. And Ken gets up to give his wee speech and stuff. And just before he finished, he turned round and he got the translator to say this to Roberto Duran. He says, "Roberto, every time I go for a pish, I think about you."
Not bitter at all. Ken Buchanan.
The pain's still fucking real.
Oh my God. Yeah, he could have been half of that low blow that night. Like, that was
Jesus, man.
that was evil, that was an evil one.
See, I was talking to him actually the night Josh Taylor fought Dale Ryan. Actually, I said to him, I asked him a question. Outside of Duran, who was the best fighter ever fought? And he says Laguna. It was the first right out his mouth. Didn't he need to think about it twice? Ishmael Laguna was the best fighter ever fought.
It was bad. I remember it was only when I was really getting into the sport. Obviously, Duran was ahead and he was giving him like a lot of trouble. But I mean, you can't end a fight on that. That's why I'm not a fan of saying, well, Duran was beating him up anyway, or this was happening if my auntie had a cock, she'd be my uncle, and all this type of stuff. And you can't seriously end a fight.
13 points ahead in the league, and
I know, but I mean, there's low and then there's that, man.
No. That was vicious. Like I said, that was vicious. You could see the pain on Buchanan's face, even on the grainy footage, man. You see him, he's fucking buckled. It's horrible,
I've actually got a great draw on it, actually. You see Duran getting pulled away by the ref, and you got fucking Ken Buchanan folded up against the rope, started cupping his bollocks. You talk about him that, right? Go watch the Ray Lampkin knockout. You've never seen any like it. I've never seen a guy get fucking put in hospital like this. And Duran says right after the fight, as the guy's getting carried out in the stretcher, he says, "What that knockout feel like?" He says, "It doesn't matter." He says, "The knockout doesn't matter unless he goes to the morgue rather than the hospital." That was his fucking comments. I was like, whoa. Imagine coming out with that shit nowadays, man. There'd be fucking uproars. Snowflakes on Twitter, that be going mental.
Let's move on to the final. Then we've got 3. So we're going to let everybody have a chance here. And then obviously I'll aggregate the winner. So we've got 3. So by my calculations here, we're going to have a 2-1 victory. I'm going to stay the hell out of this. We'll go to you first, Aussie lightweight final. So let's recap the previous winners then, shall we? Heavyweight, we had Larry Holmes whenever we started this so many weeks ago, who knows. Cruiserweight winner was Evander Holyfield. Light heavyweight winner was Roy Jones Jr. Super middleweight winner was James Toney. Middleweight was Sugar Ray Robinson. Light middleweight was Nino Benvenuti. Welterweight was Sugar Ray Leonard. Light welterweight or super lightweight, whichever you prefer, was Costa Tszyu. So the lightweight final, Aussie, first one to you. You can have 2 minutes or less. Roberto Duran against Manny Pacquiao. No pressure.
No pressure at all. Duran by stoppage. I think we all know how good Duran was at lightweight. Arguably one of the best, if not the best. Certainly not a brawler. Can punch. Can make his opponent, make the opponent miss and capitalise on every mistake. And he showed it in brutal fashion as well. We've seen Pacquiao get hurt off the likes of Marquez and badly knocked out before. And I think Duran could do the same thing. Certainly think he'd have somewhat uneasy moments. Pacquiao, as always, he can punch as well. He can move. He's got very quick hands. But I think Duran would ultimately come out the winner and stop him in 8-9 rounds.
There's one for Duran then. Roberto Duran versus Manny Pacquiao. Andy, who you got?
Duran. I'm going to go stoppage as well. I think Manny El Macho, he's when he got tagged in that, especially if you look at the Morales fights, that when he went straight at him and actually had him backing up, Manny had no clue what to do really. He just put his hands high up, backed up against as high as he could, going up against the ropes and stuff. If Duran just fucking kept going at him, pinned him up against the ropes, that he would just work him all night. And I've said it before, Manny's glass at the body at times, or shown he's been glass at the body, and I think either get cut in half or get broken down at the body. And eventually stop it, or maybe even counted out on the floor, on his knees or whatever, not trying to get up. So I'm going to say Duran. Yeah, another late stoppage. I'll say like 10 round again.
Okay, 2 for Duran. Then it's all on you, rapping Rob Kelly. There's no chance for Manny Pacquiao. Who you got? Pacquiao Duran final of the lightweights.
Yeah, I think it's hard to argue against Duran as the greatest lightweight of all time, that he has to win against anybody, doesn't he? If he's the greatest, I think, stoppage could be on the cards. I think, you have to take into consideration, like, Duran's only stoppage loss in his prime is against Hearns, where he absolutely got slept by one of the biggest punchers in history. So, and that wasn't at lightweight. So I couldn't see Manny knocking him out, and I couldn't see him. I think it'd be unbelievable if he had like a 12-round fight with the two of them in their prime. High energy, punches exchange. But Duran's movement is not really spoken about as much to talk about. He's a destroyer, but his lateral movement and his defense, he's like, not on Mayweather level, but he's up there. He's very difficult to hit even when he's right in front of you. And Manny had trouble with that kind of style. A lot of his, Aaron was brilliant for Manny, and the whole team, Freddie Roach and all them, they were brilliant for Manny, because as good as a fighter he was, he got on a run where he got fellas at just the right time. Just coming off a loss, just coming down, not taking anything away from his resume, but they were brilliant at matchmaking him. And I think fellas with that kind of style were avoided. And if Duran's right in front of him doing that lateral movement, that dipping and diving and that, I think it'll be only one winner that night.
Well done, Roberto. You won some awards over your time, but you've won our lightweight list. That's probably right up there with the best of them. Just before we go on to Belly of the Weeks, then a couple of points of interest here. I hope you indulge me. I like a bit of bullshit, a bit of nerdiness on a Sunday evening. I mentioned earlier a couple of the guys that fought Artur Gregorian. One of them was Sandro Casamonica. Another one was Stefano Zoff. And the interesting thing about these two guys, they both got beaten during the early 2000s by a Welsh fighter called Jason Cook. If you remember this guy, mention him in the chat or mention him in the YouTube comments during the week. He appeared on Sky in the early 2000s. Early on in his career, he hadn't really done much. He got knocked out in his 4th or 5th fight by a journeyman. He was sort of slinking along, beat Peter Buckley, got a win for the Welsh area title against a guy with 33 wins. Anyway, somehow he managed to get a vacant European title shot, did Mr. Cook, back in 2002, on away soil against the home fighter, an Italian called Sandro Casamonica, who went on, or had already fought Gregorian by this point, actually. Anyway, Jason goes over to Italy, knocks out Casamonica. He had a big left hook. He was a big puncher, Cook. Gets the title, brings it back to Bridgend in Wales. This is live on Sky. You got Ian Dark, Bean on commentary. Fights against Stefano Zoff, El Pirata, the pirate. He's about 44 years of age by this point. Goes to Bridgend, fights against Cook. Cook beats him on a split decision. Zoff also lost to Gregorian for the world title, so he was no mug. Anyway, Jason Cook's run continues. For some reason, he got rid of the European title, ends up fighting for a vacant IBO, world lightweight title, which were all the craze, IBO and WBU back then. I don't know why. The British title was pretty much put on the back burner. Anyway, Mr. Cook beats Oliveira. Then he beats Kevin Bennett in defense of his title. And he then went on to lose to Aldo Rios in 2004 in the Hereford Leisure Centre by knockout. Aldo Rios was a decent fighter. He went on to fight Ricky Hatton. He'd already fought Ricky Hatton by this point for the WBU title, got knocked out, beat Jason Cook. Shout out to Jason Cook, basically, Andy. I do apologise for this bullshit. He was just an interesting guy, come out of nowhere, won the European title on the road, defended it against a former world title challenger. He had a right good run. I don't know if you remember Cook.
I didn't actually, but just as you mentioned at Santa Monica, I might going to pull up that fight if it's available on YouTube and that. But see the Aldo Rios fight, he actually lost that belt because he failed a test for diuretics, actually. So that's who he ended up losing that belt, Rios.
There you go. Yeah, I
remember. And then he ended up fighting Gavin Rees on. I remember that fight actually because that was Gavin Rees also coming back. I think Cook and Gavin Rees were basically coming back to boxing after a fair layoff. That's who they ended up fighting them, prize fighter. I think
Yes, Lee the Alcoholic
won that
Fudge
fight.
says, yeah, he ended up in the prize fighter, Andy, you're quite right.
Yeah, I think Reese won that tournament as a light welter, and he eventually went on to pick up. I think did he not pick up the European belt? Did he not go to? I want to say he went to France. Did they know and win it? Did they know?
Who's that, Reese?
Gavin Reese. Did he not go to France? Did I
No,
make that up?
He beat Solomon and Boy for the WBA title, but that was in the UK, I think. And then he lost to Kotelnik, didn't he, on Satanta, got his head bashed off.
I'm saying to you.
Yeah, Chuck Crew says about Jason Cook. He went 4 years without boxing from 2005 to. He was a strange guy. He never looked in great shape, but he had this big, powerful left hook.
There we go. Gavin Reese. He won the vacant belt, European belt against Andy Murray, but he drew with Derry Matthews in a cut. He went to France and defended it, and he won. I think that's right because Billy Nelson was in the corner that night. Actually, I'm sure he was with. What's his name? What's the Welsh trainer's name again? Christ.
Chris Sanagar.
No. Oh,
I know he's Bristol, isn't he?
Oh, fuck. What's his name?
Welsh, you got Gary Lockett, Enzo Kazagi.
Gary Lockett. And then they had the rematch with Matthews and they knocked him out, yeah. And then after that, it was Broner after that.
Funny you mentioned that Andy Murray because he stopped us Oisin up in the stadium there in Dublin. And before the fight, I was saying to Oisin, like this guy's just like a Terminator. Like he's just coming straight forward. Like you have to get around the outside of him. Like don't stand in front of him. So Oisin stood in front of him, and anyway, he ended up getting stopped. But Gavin Reese beat him in the next fight with that style. He just got around the side of him, like he just spun him. You see him just coming straight forward. He just spun him all night, pumped the head off him. He was a good fighter, Gavin Reese. He doesn't really get that much credit. Like he was pretty good.
Yeah, I remember the night Murray fought Oisin. I was at that fight. Actually, Oisin wasn't happy at all. He really was not pleased with the stoppage and that.
They pulled him out, like didn't they? He wanted to go on, but he was. Yeah, we talked about that like before as well. Like he's not going to move his head, like so. You're not going to teach an old dog new tricks at the age he was. That was his fighting style, like so. I think that, the boys did him a favour that night, pulling him out. Like you don't want to be taking shots like that straight down the middle all night, like no. Especially after the fights he'd had with Highland and stuff as well, and there was a few miles on the clock there as well. Like, you know what I mean? So, I think that it was an okay stoppage on their part, from their point of view.
Yeah, Andrew Murray, one of Brian Peters' staples of RTE, saw many an Andy Murray fight over the years. Nice guy, actually, not a big talker, but real nice fellow. He's groomed for a lot of big things. But yeah, he ended up fighting Gavin Reese, and he was just Reese was another level for Murray. But no, he was a good fighter, very skilled. Probably should have done a bit more, actually. Talking of fighters who should have done a bit more, Aussie, Andrew Selby apparently has retired. I can't say I'm surprised, unfortunately.
He has, yeah, and his out the ring antics have ultimately took its toll. I think we saw the best of him when he was in the World Boxing Super Series, and from there he was tremendous. And sadly, it's been a battle for him. I think there was many high hopes when he turned over that he could go on to do great things, and ultimately, his career will go unfulfilled. Obviously, challenged for a world title against that Julio Cesar Martinez, went out to Mexico. I think he's been somewhat poorly managed and advised in a way. I mean, like they went out for that Mexican show. I think that was the final eliminator. Didn't win the purse bid, and it was so many meters above sea level and things like that. And as I say, everything that was going on outside the ring, he had a lot of personal issues and things that we don't need to get into, basically this time of night now. And yeah, I think there's an argument you could have said he could have easily been a 2-weight world champion at fly and superfly. Certainly had the skills and the ability, and a real shame, a real loss. Very, very talented fighter, very skillful, and it's sad to see him go. I think he called it quits at 30 or something like that. So you never know. He might have 12, 18 months out or something like that, and possibly return. But if that is it, then it's a real shame.
I fear he seems like the type who would maybe turn up in 3 years with a big beard, uncut hair, belly at like light welterweight or something.
Oh, fucking hell, yeah. I mean, imagine that. He's tiny as it is. Can you imagine him rocking up, coming back at that because he needs the dough or something like that? But fingers crossed. No, I mean, look, a hell of a lot has gone on outside the ring. And I think for him just to call it quits, that's probably a win for it in itself, because he's been boxing it's probably been one of these, since he was a young kid. He was excellent as an amateur, didn't he? I think he won everything he could.
Yep.
And I hope he doesn't come back with a big beard, long hair, big belly, trying to do a Frankie Gavin at 140 and stuff like that. But no, if he does come back and you know what, he gets everything back on track, then I certainly think he's got a place in the flying superfly division.
Yes, Andy, before we go on to Bellews, final one for you. Holt threw in a question. He said, last week's tournament got me thinking, what do you think of Tim Sue versus Jeff Horn? Is Tim any cop? Anything like his father? Loved his dad back in the day. A heck of a fighter, as you all said. We're all big Costas U fans here. If he does anything even approaching his dad, he'll be going pretty well. I'd say maybe Bob Arum will have a look, try and get him over to America at some point. I've seen his last couple of fights, actually, Andy. Dwight Ritchie, he beat him on points. Then he gave Jack Brewbreaker a bit of a hammering. To be honest, he can punch. I think like the old man, can't he?
Yeah, I think that's pretty much a given. I just think the lack of opposition. I was really looking forward to the Jeff Horn fight as well because I think it was a dispute about the weight actually, and they finally got it agreed. I think it was happening somewhere just running about middleweight, I just think at this point Zoo hasn't really kind of fought any level of competition, and I think Horn would be, a good benchmark really because Denton Vassell was like, what was he like? A part-time fighter. I think he was like a banker or something like that.
Banker, that's right. Yeah.
So I just think the gradual up in class that it's just been pretty gradual. So the Horn fight would definitely see where he's at and stuff like that, if he's going to be like anything like his dad and that, because Horn is rough and he's going to make it very tough fight, and we'll see if his power's all legit as well because he's going to need that every inch of that power, I think, unless he can actually kind of maybe cut him up. Like, Horn's pretty bad to kind of cut up and stuff. We've seen what Crawford did to him actually. I know it's at a lesser weight and he's probably kind of stripped himself a wee bit, but he certainly jumped up the weight a wee bit, Horn, right after that fight. So you would think, physically at least, I think Horn would be the stronger man in the ring. So it's going to be really an interesting fight to see how Zoo approaches it, especially with the kind of the pressure that Horn will bring. And again as well, I wonder what Horn's got left as well, because he's had a tough career, considering how he fights and stuff and the punishment he's took. So it'll be interesting. But I'm not going to see how
shots,
it goes.
Doesn't he, Horn? Unnecessary shots. Mm-hmm.
He does, and you just wonder as well if Zoo has got that legit power like his dad, he could potentially just chip away at him. Yeah, could chip away at him.
That's all over fucking Australia.
Yeah.
What weight is that at, Andy?
Well, Zoo's been at 154. I'm sure Horn had a fight at middleweight, Steve. I don't know if you can check that for me. But
he didn't he fight? What's his name?
Zarafa.
Zarafa, didn't he?
No, the Australian.
This is Zarafa.
Yeah.
Didn't he have a pay-per-view fight with
Mundine?
Mundine, that's it.
Yeah,
Mundine. That was middleweight, wasn't it? That was at middleweight.
Probably, I would be.
He got battered off Zarafa, got knocked out in the 9th, and then he picked him on a decision. I don't know how close it was. I mean, the cards are all over the place.
My second does, because I remember at the time, I was trying to I was following the story at the time. I just want to see what the weight was. What the dispute was. Give me a second here. Sorry, Steve, mate, if you want to keep going.
No, you're fine. I'll just add in while you're looking. I think the fact he got battered by Zarafa is a bad look, and they're probably looking at it thinking, you know what, Zoo can punch. We think Horn's on the slide. This could be a good legitimate name, and we'll probably knock him out too. That's what they're thinking of.
Yeah, you're right. I agree with that. I agree.
Any joy, Andy?
I'm still trying to find it, mate. Hang on a second here. I think I might have found it here.
It's certainly a more than winnable fight for Zoo, in my opinion. As you say, it'll ultimately show whether Zoo is somewhat legit or not. If he goes out and blasts Horn out, in a couple of rounds, 2 or 3 rounds, then he's clearly got ability. But it's going to be interesting.
Yep. So he fought Gary Cochran. Remember that fight, Jeff Horn?
Yep.
Yeah.
So he fought Mundine at 156. And apparently the Tim Zoo fight was actually finally determined to be happening at 154.
Right.
So I always thought it was trying to get at a catch weight, like running about the 160 mark and stuff. But clearly, I think Zoo's maybe kind of held firm, maybe kind of let a few dollars go just to kind of eat the Horn and stuff. Because I think the guys are roughly about the same size anyway. Kind of like height-wise and stuff like that, but I just think maybe kind of like the more natural, thicker guy is going to be Jeff Horn. What age is he? And I think Zimzoo's only what now? Early 20s?
32. Horn's 32.
You think Zoo's maybe got a wee bit of growing still to do as well? You know,
Yeah, I
Horn's
think
a
he has,
full-grown man,
definitely.
you know, so...
Yeah.
Maybe
I
that
was
wee
saying
bit to it.
that Zarafa wasn't great. We saw him against Kell Brook. Now, I know Brook's decent, but Brook was pretty substandard that night anyway. And I didn't look at Zarafa and think, you're very good. And then from the chat then, Zarafa was getting pasted. Was pasting Horn again in the second fight. So I would take Zoo in that. I think they're going to match him quite well, and I think this is from what Steve said. They think this is a fight that's there for the taking. Big old, like all Australian fight. Good name for Zoo's record, and can look good in doing it, as you say. One of Horn's main forms of defence is just use his head. They will throw some big shots, so he can look good in doing it, can't he? Beat up Jeff Horn, potentially knock him out. I hope it goes ahead. I mean, I probably won't know until they can get crowds back, probably, Andy.
Yeah.
Well,
You wouldn't do that without a crowd, would you?
Well, I was just going to say, I noticed it was just last weekend, New Zealand actually had a full stadium for a rugby match, I think. So I don't know how that area is.
Oh, right.
They were clear, New Zealand, and then they got another couple of cases, so they're pretty much...
imported cases for the UK as well.
Yeah, Sue's 25. He looks just like the old man. Just looking at him there, man, it's crazy. But yeah, they'll love that. They'll be all over that. The Aussies, what they $50
pay-per-view.
It's the fight between legends. You can just see it right there, can't you?
The son of the seed of a legend against Jeff Horn, who has beat a legend in Manny Pacquiao. Holy shit! It was like that time when Roy Jones. When Roy Jones got smashed up off, that was at Danny Green, I think it was, to become a legend, you got to be a legend. I'm like, dude, that's a fucking washed up ghost. He just fucking smashed up there. Fucking hell.
Oh, fuck. I remember the person that was maddest about that was B-Hop, because he was lining up the fucking rematch and it still had a bit of interest, and he was like, no, the referee can't stop that fight. You have to give Roy Jones a chance to go out on his feet.
Yeah, nobody quite does it like the Aussies. Anyway, yeah, we've got high hopes for Sue. I'm interested to see how he gets on. 15-0, 11 knockouts. He's doing well. Looks like the old man. Punches like him as well. Okay, guys, Belly of the Week, so episode 378. Got quite a few to get through, a few funny ones as well. Rob's still with us, so's Ozzy, and so's Andy. First one here, Rob. This is an interesting one. Sky Sports Boxing put it out. Nelson versus Jones Jr. Sky's Johnny Nelson versus real Roy Jones Jr. The great cruiserweight fight that never happened, ? Now, I'm racking my brains here, Rob. I can't ever remember anybody asking to see Roy Jones versus Johnny Nelson at cruiserweight. Can you?
I remember, the only thing I can remember is I remember when Tyson was on his UK tour that Johnny Nelson was vocal about wanting that fight. But I never remember him saying Roy Jones. This is another thing with Steve Collins, apparently. Steve Collins was chasing Roy Jones forever. I remember he might have turned up at one press conference or something. I don't think it was making it his life's mission, but yeah, I don't know if that's a fight anyone would have wanted to see, but I know who would have won it. But fucking hell, man, yeah, maybe Johnny Nelson. Y'all must have forgot Johnny Nelson wanted to bring it to Roy Jones. I don't know, man.
The thing is, though, Andy, they've been mentioning a lot of Johnny Nelson lately. The other day, they mentioned him in the top 5 cruiserweights or top 3 cruiserweights or whatever it was. There's a lot of historical revisionism going on about Nelson's career. He was a good fighter. He was very fit, strong, effective at what he did. But do you remember that WBO reign towards the end when he was fighting guys like Alexander Petkovic, Rudiger May, and Vincenzo Cantatore? This was European level stuff, man. I mean, Nelson wasn't great.
Remember Rudiger May? The guy that he fucking fought, some German trash.
Yeah.
Fucking, he got smashed off Herbie Hyde in 2 rounds. Right? This is the guy who, his greatest moment, shit the fucking bed against, what's his name? Carlos de Leon. One of the most awful, shittiest fight. I mean, listen, I actually tried just to start lockdown and stuff, I tweeted out, I actually tried to sit and watch a couple of these fucking fights. I lost interest within like 2 or 3 rounds. I remember I watched about the Andries fight, for example. So that's just a fucking shambles, man. Andries was a light heavyweight. Yeah, it's I mean, again, it's more along the lines like the WBO, what it was at that point. you know, and it was just like a European world title belt, and it was just opened up doors for guys for like, again, like Eastern Europe and Argentina, Brazil, fucking Johnny Nelson's of Sheffield and all that sort of stuff. You know, it's just absolute trash, absolute trash. But as I say, you know, for all his faults, and that, you know, he hung weight. I'll give Nelson that he hung weight. He could have easily. I mean, he took a lot of jibes, man. I mean, a lot mentally tough. I'll give him that, because the shit that he got pelted at him when he was a pro at the time, man, it was like proper personal stuff and that, you know. And he kept some of the stories about him getting dismantled and sparring is crazy and that, and just take fucking liberties with him. But he just kept hanging with it, and you know, I suppose in the end, that, you know, he finally got his fears kind of like clamped to a point. But God, he was awful to watch, and he just absolutely extracted the urine with the entertainer moniker. Like,
no, I agree with Andy. Like I said, I'm not trying to shit on him. He was always in shape. He did his best. He could have quit early on. He got a lot of pelters. He came back. He was mentally strong. I'll give him a lot of credit. I'm not trying to denigrate his career, but his career's been like sort of photoshopped by this Sky social media over the last few years, trying to make it out like something that it wasn't. Nobody was interested. He was just a decent fighter, WBO champion, sort of European level opponents. Nothing more, nothing less. Nobody wanted to see him fight Roy Jones. Nobody wanted to see him fight anybody. The last fight I remember before he retired, they were talking about fighting Enzo Maccarinelli.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I mean, we're just talking about Grigorian there, like half hour ago. Yeah, well, I'm not hating the guy, but the guy has some like crazy title defenses, something like Nelson. I think Nelson has something similar defenses as well, something like 17, 18, 19 defenses. But look at it in context, man. Let's look at who he beat. Fucking nobody. Okay, I mean, I'm not want to shut on Carl Thompson and Ezra Sellers and that, but you know, they're like a kind of like for every Ezra Sellers and for every fucking Carl Thompson, there was like 3 or 4 fucking bags of shit, you know, either before it or after it, you know. So,
but the Thompson one was a dodgy stoppage as well. You know?
Exactly. We meant to get the rematch, remember, until Thompson got smashed up off, was it Sellers, I think it was?
Yeah.
Yeah, so, you know, that been right out the one day. Oh, well, yeah. Yeah, it's just a wee bit of revisionism, I think. You know, it's just like everything else, you know, your career kind of takes on like leaps and bounds. But as you say, mate, it's been photoshopped, that career. You know, calm the fuck down. Johnny Nelson. You ask anybody in the fucking boxing gym, you know, running about circa 15, 20 years ago, and that, they'll tell you. They'll be honest with you, he was fucking awful. I mean, he was a good gym fighter, apparently. But in the ring, when under the bright lights and when it really mattered, and that, my God, he could stink it up.
Yeah, Lee's right there. They never talked about Jim Watt's career like that. You know, let's go back through Macklin's career. Get Clinton Woods. Well, he tells it too straight. They got rid of him, didn't they? Get some, you know, these guys on the Froch. Fair enough. Talk about Froch's career all day. Been there, done it. Got the wins, got the t-shirt.
Please, I've heard it all before, man.
No, but at least you can sort of say when they put Froch into these conversations online, there's a bit of, you know, credence to it. Like, but I mean, come on, man, Johnny Nelson, stop it now, stop it. Anyway. We're giving him far too much time, I think, haven't we? Good old Johnny. Yeah, I spoke to him once in Dublin. He's a nice guy. Disclaimer after all that. Shawnee Buckle nominated that one anyway. No Consent Hearn, No Consent Boxing has nominated Coach Kavanagh. First thing I check on a fighter is their ass, says Coach Kavanagh. Then their arms. The bigger the ass and the smaller the guns, the more confident I'll be in their ability to generate power. Big guns and pecs tell me they're preparing for the beach. All show, no go. Coach Kavanagh. Telling it how it is there.
Criteria to use in certain situations. I'm not sure boxing is one of them, but fucking combat sports. Some other, you know what I mean? Let's not throw it out the window altogether.
Last night, my son had a Free Sports TV on, channel 422 on Sky, and there was this these 2 Japanese girls fighting on like one boxing or one championship. It's like a UFC type thing. I don't really like that, but they're in a clinch on the floor, and the next minute the one girl sort of sits her arse on the other girl's face, and she's sitting on her, and the girl's trying to wriggle free, and you know, she's there with her arse in her face. And my son says, I hope she doesn't let one go, otherwise the fight's will be straight over. So
yeah. Disqualification.
the arse can be useful in the old UFC, I think, is the point there. Right, anyway, CR Boxing is nominated something. Let's have a look what it is. Oh, here we are, Andy. Close your ears now. Pound for pound boxing opinions got stuck in here. CR Boxing said, how would middleweight Roberto Duran do against Canelo, Triple G, or Billy Joe Saunders? Pound for pound boxing opinion says, think they all beat him?
Yeah, I mean, oh, Christ me, that's no weapons grade weed that guy's smoking, man. That's just delusional, you know. And the thing is, he actually goes on to try and say as well as, you know, if you look at it actually goes and points to say that if you look at the David Lemieux fight, it says it showed that Saunders had shows movement and isn't a stationary target. Who gives a fuck? Fucking Duran's going to be hunting you out of that ring, man. You have to find an engagement at some point. Who's other two names? Canelo and Golovkin.
Mello, Triple G, and Billy Joe Saunders. Marcus Bellinger nominated. It was pound for pound boxing opinions.
Aye. Saunders, I mean, if we're talking about Saunders fight, I mean, I would expect Canelo and Golovkin to give a far better fight. And you remember as well, this is a Duran at this point, maybe, but he's fucking mid-30s by this point, and he's like slapping fucking Iran Bartley and Davey Moore about like they were fucking used condoms, man. What the fuck? You think Billy Joe Saunders is going to handle that? Fucking calm the fuck down. Jesus Christ.
The conversation continued on CR Boxing. Kilo Jake at Analyze Wildlife, a regular listener, shout out, said if the middleweights are at their best, they all beat him handily. Wheelchair Dan said, I've had to decide over the last 5 minutes if you're trolling, and I still ain't sure. Kilo Jake said, I'm not. He wasn't an elite. The fight went on. Sam Dorset said, there's only one way to deal with this sort of nonsense. He tagged in at Asylum BOTW, so we could discuss it here. Kilo Jake said, Billy Joe's a natural middleweight, and we'll just get on his bike. Sam Dorset wasn't happy. It went back and forward. There was another one Andy nominated as well. Quite the conversation starter. Matteo Politano said, Duran beats Triple G. Billy Joe Saunders may be too crafty for Duran, but I think he beats him too. I don't know about Canelo. It's a 50-50.
Oh, man, fuck off. I mean, come on, you fuck, man.
Billy Joe Saunders might be too crafty for Duran, and he might be too crafty for him.
And what was the Golovkin story?
Oh, yeah.
What was his Golovkin breakdown?
He said he thinks that Duran beats Triple G. Billy Joe Saunders might be too crafty for him, and he thinks that Canelo's a 50-50.
Absolutely, fuck off. I mean, okay, I can take the point that Golovkin would be too, Duran could be too crafty for Golovkin, especially on an inside fight. But he could easily be crafty for Canelo as well, you know, on the inside. And fucking Billy Joe Saunders couldn't he fucking punch smoke, man? So I was really going to say that, you know, Saunders is going to be able to kind of outwork, out-hustle, and outbox one of the legends of all time. I'd be fucking. It's what we're seriously fucking coming to this fucking idiot. Pound for pound boxing opinions. I can't believe they created these fucking moniker fucking boxing Twitter handles, man. Fucking hell. Come
I like
on.
the way he says Saunders would be too crafty for Duran. Like,
it's like he's just trying to say, like, you know, yeah, without doubt, Saunders beats him. Golovkin's in a tight fight, and you know, Canelo's up in the air. Like, shut the fuck up.
Go ahead, Rob.
No, I was just laughing at what Andy was saying. Over Billy Joe Saunders. What's me sound like now? Hold on, let me do a quick audio check there. I'm getting 4 or 5.
That's better.
Now. You should be all right.
A lot better, Rob. It's just the wind now, but you sound a lot better.
Wind? No, I'm bringing these back. It's supposed to be noise reducing. How the fuck did you know it was windy?
Oh, that's it. You sound good now.
Right, sound far better.
Cool.
Shout out Bean really loud. Let's test. Say Bean. 1, 2, Bean.
Bean!
Here you go. Rob Kelly's out there, still living. Danny Robson has nominated PointsBet Sportsbook. Vicious body shot by Roy Jones put Virgil Ortiz down in the 4th round. Later named KO of the year. I think they meant Virgil Hill, didn't they, Andy? I've cut that screenshot off a little bit.
Yeah. Virgil Hill, definitely.
Virgil Hill, good fighter was Virgil Hill back in the day. Johnny Joyce is celebrating the fact he got a photograph with the great Prince Nazim Mohammed 1 year ago. Hashtag Bad Boy Joyce. That was nominated from Don Harrow. Prince Nazim Mohammed.
He's an upcoming opponent for Prince Patel, isn't he?
Oh, every possibility, by the way. There's always a Mohammed somewhere.
Good old Prince. Eddie Hearn has released a book, Relentless. Lockdown has given me the opportunity to focus on some projects that I wouldn't normally had time for. Nominated by Gary Lockwood here, Andy. Nominate Hearn for Bellew of the Week. He claims a relentless work ethic is what helps you to succeed. So does Daddy's Millions, says Gary.
Yeah, absolutely. Chapter 1, how to spend Daddy's millions. Chapter 2, how to bully girls in private school. Chapter 3, how to get on the board of directors of Leyton Orient and fuck up that club for good style. Chapter 4, how to go about fucking up your life and just basically talking bullshit. Oh my god, man, I could go on for ages about this, man. What a ego! What a fucking ego that man's got, man. Who gives a fuck about what he does?
He's really onto something there. Who would have ever thought if you work really hard you could be successful? He's a fucking genius. How has nobody picked up on this before? What a prick. Evening, Ed.
Evening, Eddie, exactly. Yeah, we bring up the old... let's just get it up here, shall we? Oh, trying to get it up on a Sunday evening. Yeah, stay humble and you'll never crumble, says Aunt Femi. Got all the banners on. There we go. Right, let's move on to the next one. Owen Spillane, friend of the pod. Good lad, Owen. Hope you're well out there. Sent in this one. Someone's in for a nasty surprise, says Owen. Amir Khan tweeted out for Bernardo's, the children's charity. Do you want to win a virtual hangout with Amir Khan, says Bernardo's?
There's your winner there.
Enter our prize draw by text, £5 entry. Support some of the UK's most vulnerable children. Amir says, join me in 15 minutes. We could talk on a video call, says Amir.
Who's the PR person has to go there? Like, you have to go, I'm sorry, like, who let that one slide? Oh my god.
Oh dear, that's a good one.
Oh,
Shout out to Owen Spillane for sending that one in. I should have texted it and I could have put it up on the screen.
It's like Amir Khan in Jaws 2, just when you thought it was safe to go back on Zoom.
That's a good one. Well done. Okay, moving on. Let's see what we've got here. The Athletic Box. We're asking, looking into the future pound-for-pound fighters for 2025, boxing's pound-for-pound list. Abhishek jumped in and said, the best boxer of all time will be Ryan Garcia. He's going to blow up. I'm assuming he's going to join some kind of terrorist cell because I don't think he's going to become the best boxer of all time. He's going to blow up, apparently, according to Abhishek. Javier Serrano nominated him for that one. Ricky Gravel has nominated Aaron Hughes. Any chance of a joint narration, Eddie, with Kugan Cassius for your audio book? Yeah. See how we get on with that one. Matt at Eggy Phil has nominated Ricky Ellis. I don't care. Fury versus Joshua is worth £50. It's a once-in-a-lifetime fight, says Ricky. Here's one for you, Andy. Kell Brook talking to boxing scene. Once I beat Terence Crawford, he can have a rematch. That's good of him.
That's a very gently moved by him. Problem is, he's not going to win the fucking first fight. He's going to quit again. Fucking hell. I think as to, what weight's it going to be at? I mean, he told us he's the best 154 fighter on the planet. That fight's not happening at 154. Kell Brook.
Brook's done. Wasn't he just retired? Eddie, let him retire. Are you listening, Ed? Let a guy retire, for goodness sakes. Like Bellew. Leave him alone.
Leave him alone, by the way. I mean, the thing is, just leave Brook alone as well, because I know you've got struggling. I know you've got to fill pay-per-view dates and stuff like that. Well, the zone goes in the shitter and that. So just leave Kell Brook alone. Just tell him to retire. They don't want to see Crawford manhandling him. Maybe he wants to be manhandled. Who knows?
Good lad. Chris Eubank Jr., Ride or Die, featured on a Harley Davidson with the dad, Matt, at Dobson Box Bet, nominated him for that. Holt.
Is that a choice for us? Like, we decide, is that Ride or Die? Or what is it? Do we get to say die? No.
Good old Eubank Jr. getting a nomination. Holt has nominated Dillian White. Dillian White says Evander Holyfield is rated higher than Mike Tyson, and he beat Lennox Lewis twice, according to Dillian. Yeah, all right, Dillian. Okay. Matty has nominated PC Jacob. Wouldn't matter to me if Fury versus Joshua was £80. The undercard will be packed 2. I'll pay it. Here's a good one, Aussie. Just leave him alone. Old Tony. You could have watched live watch along today. Everton versus Liverpool, Merseyside derby. If you didn't want to hear the normal commentary, you could listen to Tone alongside Adi Akinfenwa commentating on the fight.
Adi Akin, is that big fat bastard plays for Wycombe Wanderers by any chance?
Yeah, he's a big lad, isn't he?
Is that him?
Yeah, him and Tony.
Oh, that's a fucking that's a behemoth, that guy, by the way.
How did they get to hear Tony? They surely couldn't have heard him from his house. Did he leave his house? He must have to leave his house for something. He's locked away, man. Just leave him alone. He couldn't have turned up in this guy's studio, did he? In the suit.
God, Tony. What do you reckon, Oz? Did you listen?
I didn't know. It was one of the worst games I've watched, actually. But no, we just need to leave him alone. He doesn't want to be in the limelight, but he just keeps cropping up, doesn't he?
Who won, by the way?
Go.
Nothing each, I think it was. Was it nothing each?
I didn't watch it.
Yeah, 0-0.
Yeah, it was shite like the last
been wank staying. They should null and void the season, man. It's been shit.
Everton could have won, actually. They hit the post with about 10 minutes to go.
Yep. Nobody wants to watch that while the mighty Wolves were rocking on. Here's a good one, Aussie, as well for you. What about Eddie this week? The footage was dug up from a Terry Harper press conference revealing one of Canelo's team said that the favourite fighter around today in world boxing is Terry Harper.
Did you see her? She's sitting there like that. Did you see her? Oh, really? Me?
Did he mean to say Terence Crawford?
Why?
Did he mean to say Terence Crawford?
The thing is, why would he lie? Why would
he did, Ozzy. It's true. Footage is out there.
I know I've seen it, but why would he lie about it? It's one of the most absurd things to ever make up, and to pull in Canelo's team. It's one of the best lies I've ever heard, or it might be remotely true, but it just amused me. She was looking around. It's like, me?
Yeah, exactly. She's like, really? Me? Really? And she's like, can I perk her up, Matt? Really? And she's like, can I flirty looking at it? And Eddie's like struggling not to fucking laugh because he's lying that hard. Sorry, Ed, but you fucking are, man. Jesus Christ, man. That is. I mean, he must have. That must be a dare for his mates. Nah, I dare you 10 grand. You didn't say that. I know you're struggling for some cash, you know, Eddie. I dare you 10 grand to go and see this and stuff like that. And he's like, I'll go and fucking. What a fucking whopper he is, man. Jesus Christ! You see Harper sitting there like a wee fucking meerkat. Really? Me? Oh my goodness! Oh fucking hell!
It'd be funny if the footage emerged, though, wouldn't it, Andy? Or something like Canelo on an Ellie setback video. Yeah, me gusta, Terry Harper.
smell the coochie. Yeah. Yeah, fuck's sake, my like. Who the fuck's Terry Harper like? People think it's like fucking some sort of beef.
I will know all about the beef anyway.
Yeah.
Nomination. Matt Skelton was nominated. Tony Bellew for doing punditry for the Everton Liverpool game. Top rank boxing nomination from me for Mark Kriegel, defending the Navarrete Uriel Lopez fight from last night. The current climate benefits a fighter with the anytime, anywhere, anyhow mentality. Mark Kriegel explains why. Navarrete versus Lopez, is the perfect fight for this moment. He would say that, wouldn't he? And that's all the ones that I've got. Then any nomination from you, Ozzy?
Kriegel, I've got one. IFL TV interviewing Billy Nelson this week. I think it was either the week gone or the week before. Somebody on Twitter changed their account to the WBC and put a big post out saying that the WBC basically didn't give a toss about Dillian White, and his mandatory would now be in 2023. Anyway, it was one of the lads who basically did it, to completely troll, and it got quite a bit of traction. Anyway, I forget who was interviewing Billy Nelson, and he used the content from the fake account, saying to Billy Nelson how much of a disgrace it was that the WBC had moved Dillian White's mandatory to 2023. So that I thought that was quite amusing. That the troll account, which was later changed back after a day or so, duped the IFL interviewer into asking questions that had no substance whatsoever.
We've all been duped like that with some of the fake accounts.
Do you remember Ingram got duped by the Croatian journeyman who fought, was it Price or something?
Oh,
hey, Dave Allen?
It was fucking, it was Yakov Gospin. I remember, and I wouldn't mind, but I listened to that, and I was in I'd been at the show where Nick Webb knocked Gospich out. So I was in the away fighters dressing room because I was up there with Richie Garner because he had a fighter in the away corner on the Cyclone show, and I heard Gospich talk, and he sounded nothing like it. I thought, fucking hell, but what a random thing to come on, and it was just some random lad, wasn't it, putting on an accent. I absolutely hammered him for that because I said this is absolute bollocks. He was saying like he got offered like 1,500 quid to fight Derek Chisora. I'm like, what? It's just a lot. Anyone knows that would never happen.
I remember Tommy and Kurt actually were kind of sharing or made a Twitter account of Roger Mayweather. Yeah, this is like back in the fucking late unpleasantness when Twitter was just an absolute fucking free for all. By the way, honest to God. Oh, I need to get them on to actually go through some of the shit they were coming away with, man. It was incredible. And the fucking bite, Tommy just fucking bites everybody in that. Holy fuck. They ended up closing it down because people were just going fucking batshit mental.
Didn't Freddie Roach got caught with a fake Roger Mayweather account?
I think
out for a fight and all as well, didn't he? Like,
it was that account.
No way. That went viral, that didn't it? Like, because everyone was like, Freddie got fucking trolled. Like, no way.
Any more nominations, Andy?
Yeah, Tyson Fury. As you know, everybody listening to Tyson Fury in the past, not talking about pound for pound rankings, he would always poo-poo it. And he says, for example, Roman Gonzalez, that says, what would a flyweight do against likes of me? Fucking nothing, basically. So just on Tuesday there, he actually kind of took a screenshot of BoxRec. He's got Saul Alvarez number 1, and it's got Tyson Fury number 2, and he's fucking took a screenshot of it and posted it on Twitter and says pound for pound number 2. I'm like, fucking hell, man. He says this is coming from a guy who actually took pound for pound seriously. Now he's fucking promoting it.
He needs to fucking shut up, doesn't he? Like, he needs to shut up. What was that announcement all about? Like, the fucking is it? Who the fuck were the two of them going to fight anyway? They have to fucking fight each other. That's no big fucking deal that they've agreed to fucking fight. So they've always had to fucking say that they were going to fight each other. That's some big fucking news that was broke. Like, and the shit that's coming out of his mouth lately, like, him and AJ are in danger of undoing all the good stuff, PR that they've had since their last fights. Like, because the two of them are coming out. So just shut up, man, and stick to boxing to all you, like, because you're definitely not fucking politicians. Like, you should just fucking stick to boxing. Fury, he could say anything, dude. He could fucking say anything, and it's at the stage now where, like, I'm with everybody on panel. I'm sick of it. If it never gets made, I don't give a shit. The shit was made this year, and all this stuff is just fucking nonsense. Every fucking IFL video is AJ Fury with the whole lockdown. We got 3 months of it, like, and now we get the announcement. But then Eddie's like, well, it's not really an announcement. That's why you see that. We know all that shit. Like, this fucking fight that had to happen after all the other fights. Like, so it's a lot of bullshit. Like. And they're just going to upgrade Fury to franchise champion now as well, which deserves a better.
So it's not even that. It wouldn't even be a full unification fight. Wouldn't be a full unification fight if that happened. Really? And Adam seems to be kind of like not so much promoting it, but he's kind of like not even finalising it, but he's accepting it really that that's what's going to happen. Tyson's going to get the franchise tag,
Yeah. Okay, any nominations from you, Rob?
No, just that success one is a really good one. Work hard, everybody out there, and you can be a success at something. You know what I mean? Don't just wing it day to day. Wonder what's going on. Work hard, and you too can inherit your own lads. Millions.
Might even get your own trust fund. You never know. Might even get adopted by Barry Hearn via his black book. You never know.
Last place you want to be. There's only one for me this week. It's got to be, do you want to win a virtual hangout with Amir?
Hey! Fuck me. Who let that happen, man? How did he think that was a good idea for charity?
Good lad. What about you, Andy? You going for?
Yeah, mate, that is strong. But there was a couple other ones actually. Who was the one about Duran? Pound for pound boxing.
Oh, pound for pound boxing opinions was good. I thought Tony Bellew coming out to do the frigging thing with Adiak and Fenrir was good, and I liked Eddie's complete and utter bullshit about Canelo and Terry Harper was good too.
Aye. I mean, I felt sorry for Terry and that. I mean, she must be gullible. She's fucking swallowing that shit. I mean, fucking hell. But Amir Khan, that's what it's all about, man. That's what all the laughs is about, Get Amir Khan on Skype. What can go wrong? Fucking nothing. Look at it. Look at it. I'm strangling it. It's gone purple.
Probably got to go with Khan, haven't you?
Probably.
But there's an honourable mention for the lad who was talking about paying 50 quid for Joshua and Fury.
Oh, Ricky Ellis.
Yeah, he's cropped up before.
He was
the one who wanted the £100 pay-per-view,
That's
wasn't
right.
he?
Yeah,
That's
Oh shit! There was one. Sorry, Eddie said in an interview this week that every time he makes an announcement, there seems to be some kind of bots that pop up that are pro Al Heyman, and he doesn't understand where this is coming from. As if he's never heard of this concept before. Where do bots come from? For instance, these matchroom bots that everybody's talking about. What kind of concept is this? Well, it's happening to Eddie now. He's not happy. The Heymanites are after him. So the Heymanite.
Even Eddie.
Hi, the sentient bots, exactly. The bots have turned on their masters.
The future is with the bots, and like these AI sex robots. As soon as the AI develops far enough that you can get them to work a microwave, the whole game is going to change. I'm telling you, that's the future.
There you go. Rob Kelly telling it as it is. At least one of the panel members here is a bot. I'm not going to tell you who, but we've been fooling you for a while now. At least one of the panel members is a bot. Not gonna reveal the information on that one. I think Amir Khan won, didn't he? Well done, Amir. We got Amir Khan. You went for Amir Khan, didn't you, Andy?
I did, mate. Yep, Amir Khan.
You went for Amir as well, Ozzy?
Yeah, correct.
Lovely job. Well done, Amir. Keeping it real, shaking things up. Episode 378. Let's get out of here for the evening, shall we? I think we're putting a good shift tonight, That was a good one, that. Giving you plenty of, 2.5 hours or so? Thanks to everybody in the chat who's joined us. Lee the Alcoholic Frotch, Take Ames, Jim McDonald, Jason Chuck, who's been on One Porky's Corner. Dave at Boxing's First was on the call earlier, alongside Al Siesta, GB Boxing as well. Everybody else listening throughout the week, hit us up if you have any questions, comments, or complaints. Hit the like button as well, or the dislike button if you think we're shit. I've been Steve Wellings. We'll catch you all again, same time, same place next week. Bye.
Woo!